Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner and I'm here with James Farley.
Hello.
Sean Bell.
Hello.
And the main one, Matt Murray.
Hello.
We'd like to start the show by thanking our Patreon producers this month. They are Aaron Patrick, Anthony Oakenson, Tom S., Simon Nelson, Jack Oven, and Moomin Biscuit. Full Nels, thank you so much for supporting us at the Full Nels tier. You can support us on Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/TCGS if you want to hear our bonus show, see our Talksovers live, and or become Full Nels, become a Patreon producer. Should we get straight into the feedback, Matt?
Sorry, Moomin Biscuit. Is that a biscuit for Moomins, or is it a biscuit made out of Moomins?
I thought it made out of.
I think it is.
I instantly thought a biscuit in the shape of a Moomin.
Okay.
Like animal biscuits.
That's less weird than either of mine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, it's still pretty weird.
I've just Googled it. Moomin biscuits exist.
Do they? What are they?
Are they made from Moomins?
Just little biscuits shaped out of Moomins. Yeah, so Moomins,
oh, but look at that. Look at that. And people say I'm the thick one. Feedback, Matt. Let's go.
Okay, Thomas Griffin. Hi, lads. I assume this will become a regular thing on the podcast after hearing David's excited title or wicked at the idea of a new person writing in. But I too have been listening for a long time and am only just bothering to email in. When I say a long time, I mean I've been listening to you guys across various different podcasts for about 8 years. To put that into perspective, I was 12 years old 8 years ago. I would always listen to JoyPod while doing my daily paper round, and an entire family day out to Swanage when I was 14, probably ruined by me tanning the entire mid-res back catalogue with my earphones in all day. A lot of events in my life have been tied to your podcasts, including having to quickly hide a custom-printed Midnight Resistance mouse pad seconds before losing my virginity. I'm well aware this sounds like an elaborate joke, but this is an actual thing that genuinely happened to me. I suppose I'm just emailing in to say thanks for the many years of entertainment, and I hope there are many more to come. Never emailed in before because my opinions on games are all shite, but the community seems lovely. Thanks, Thomas Griffin.
Sounds like an episode of The Big Bang Theory, that, not shit. It's just about losing virginity. Also, why would?
Well, yeah. What's on the mouse pad?
Resistance.
How custom printed are we talking here? What's he done?
The faces.
Is it Sean Bell photoshopped onto a naked body?
Giving a thumbs up. Maybe. That email's amazing. I think we all broadly assume that our audience skews a bit older. Certainly, like people who listen to podcasts in general. I'm pretty sure everyone under the age of 25 prefers to watch things rather than just listen to them. But maybe that's an unfair thing to say. I don't know.
That's definitely bollocks.
That's true. Yeah.
No. I mean, remember when we were kids, we wouldn't. We'd still, all right, okay. The majority of the people would like to watch things, but it was the same when we were that age as well. But we still liked listening to radio and podcasts and stuff, right?
Well, podcasts didn't exist when we were. Well, we were inventing them, weren't we, Dave? Back then, we were inventing them.
No, but I was still listening to the radio and stuff back then. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. But I just imagine. Could you imagine walking into your bedroom just about losing your virginity, look around the room and shit, I need to hide something that's embarrassing. What's the most embarrassing thing in my room? The Midnight Resistance mouse mat. No, but not only that, like the girl. What if
you're making an assumption there? But
I was going to say it could be
the girl or the boy, whatever. I don't. It's all good. It's all gravy. If they saw that mouse mat, would they instantly go, "Oh no, not that terrible podcast"? Yeah, I'm more of a Kane and Rinse guy.
Or maybe he was worried that they would think it was for the band because I gather they're not very good.
Or the old game.
That's all the old games. All distinct possibilities.
But either way, I can't believe Thomas has emailed in, not sent us a picture. I can assume he doesn't have it anymore.
Yes.
Picture of what? Right, of the mouse mat. Gotcha. I was going for that, really? Okay, fine. Not everyone commemorates it with a picture. That's all I'm saying.
Don't they?
But no, it's...
Didn't they?
It's a nice thing because, I think those years, you remember the stuff that you watched or listened to in those sorts of years because it often ends up being quite formative. Like for me, it was sort of earlier on, it was like Digitizer and stuff, and then later on like Consolevania and that whole thing. So it's nice to know that people have been listening to our shit during that time. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And is there any other cool young people listening to this? Let us know. Send us an email. We want to hear from you. Just to make sure that we're not just speaking. Could you imagine being 20 years old and listening to a podcast where they go, my son is playing Animal Crossing and he's really missing Cherry. Anyway, let's talk about the next game. It's just...
This is it, isn't it? It's like when, it's like GCSE results day and people start posting advice for, if you've just got your results. It's like, mate, no one who's 16 is following you on Twitter. Stop it.
yeah, it's so true. Good luck with your results today, guys. Yeah, I'm 35. Yeah. You don't need to
sign up to TikTok so I can give all the kids some advice.
I always think that. I always avoid talking politics on Twitter because it is just pointless, right? It's you're on the road to nowhere with that shit. If you're me, I'm talking from a personal perspective here. But whenever I see someone go, remember, you got to vote, you got to register to vote today. And I want to go, well, yeah, shit, I wasn't going to do that. But now that I've seen you post that, I'm going to rush out and fucking do it. Probably not aimed at me, and sounds like the room doesn't agree. But okay, let's go to the next bit of feedback.
Speaking of uncool old dudes, Gareth Newton.
Uncle Old Dude. Do you remember him? Uncle Old Dude? He was crazy.
Uncle Dude. Hey, it's Uncle Dude.
That's what I call my name. I'm going to my nephew. Next time I see him, I'm going to go, just call me Uncle Dude. Great name.
Gareth Newton. Lads, I have some views on your discussion on whether we needed a sequel to The Last of Us. It's a weird one because I totally agree with that. The beautiful thing about The Last of Us was that it was a self-contained, well-realised story with a distinct and powerful end, and I definitely felt uneasy the first time I heard there was to be a sequel. My theory about the first game is that they wanted Ellie to lead, but there was a resistance from certain parties who argued that people wouldn't go for a game with a female lead, instead opting for everyone's favourite grumpy dad Joel. When the game did incredibly well, it paved the way so that Ellie was allowed to her own story in the DLC Left Behind. The structure and story of Left Behind absolutely blows the original game out of the water, in my opinion, and you can tell Naughty Dog agree because they reused and repurposed some of the storytelling mechanics from Left Behind and Uncharted 4, such as a downtime where Drake is playing the hero in his own attic, mirroring the water gun fight the girls haven't Left Behind. Left Behind is a beautiful and sensitive yet absolutely cursed and tragic, because we know from the start what is going to happen to Riley. I've spent 6 years screaming at all people to play the DLC if they enjoy Last of Us because it's absolutely perfect. Oh, so someone say something then.
Yeah, I said all we know. We've had a few of those screams sent our way. Don't you worry about that. I think we read them out on the podcast. Go on.
Being everything Naughty Dog has learned about storytelling and the tech used to drive in interesting directions from Left Behind and Uncharted 4 will be even further developed for this game, which means the potential for some very powerful scenes, and that's really exciting. So although I'd usually agree in this situation that bringing a sequel to a story that had already had a perfect end would be a bad idea, I'm excited for The Last of Us 2. My hope is that they pull the trigger fully on what they attempted in the first game, show the ugliness of violence and human nature. They bailed out in the end, but now they have an opportunity to rectify this with a sequel. Most importantly, we get to play what will inevitably be a believable, iconic, well-written female lead in a AAA game, which is extremely rare. The reboot of God of War was great and had some very strong things to say about the pitfalls and follies of masculinity and controlling your anger whilst championing motherhood, but it still did it through a lens of a tortured, beardy, tired old bloke. Whilst I can clearly fucking relate to that, Naughty Dog have an opportunity to create something special by having a female character at the forefront of their extremely big budget game, telling a story of a woman through the eyes of a woman. That's a massive, and that's massive. Congrats on 200, and that's from Gary Dutton.
James Farley, thoughts?
Yeah, all right.
You weren't listening to a word of it, did you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, yeah, great. I mean, do we know for certain at this point that Ellie actually is the lead throughout the whole game?
No. Well, I mean, in fact, actually, I highly doubt that. When you consider, what happens in The Last of Us, I'll be very surprised if Ellie's the lead all the way through the game.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't watch it, but did any of you watch the new story trailer last week that came out?
No.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay.
I think I started watching it and I thought, oh yeah, I'm getting a little bit excited about this now. I'll turn it off. Not to stop me getting excited about it, but if I do play it, I don't want to see anything. There's a few things with trailers at me at the moment. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm thinking I should just never watch them. Like, what is the fucking point? I'll decide whether I want to play a game. I don't want to see bits and pieces from it. I mean, we mentioned it on Star Calls, but that was a big thing with Star Wars. It was like, there's so many bits where you're going, I've never seen this bit. Like, do you know what I mean? It's really frustrating.
So that's exactly what I'm trying to do, because the thing is, it's not like I'm like, oh, I don't want it spoiled and everything. It's just, I want to go into this not really knowing. It does sound like I don't want it spoiled.
Yeah, that's like that.
No, but what I mean is that it's not like I don't want specific story beats being stored. I just want the whole thing to be like, I don't really know anything about this. I just want to see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the new one. I heard some people say that it sort of explained a bit more stuff, but I don't want that. I want more mystery. So, it's not long now. Anyway, Adam Turner has emailed in, hi all, it's been a long time since I last got in contact. Congratulations on reaching your 200th show. I wanted to feedback on a conversation around gaming and kids. I have my daughter who recently turned 4 and a son who's only a couple of weeks old, born on the 18th of April. And I wanted to recommend a book I found inspiring on the subject of kids and gaming. It's called The New Childhood, Raising Kids to Thrive in a Digitally Connected World by Jordan Shapiro. The author discusses how he used gaming to connect with his sons after the breakup of his marriage. Throughout the book, he looks into family home traditions and history that now govern our home lives and questions how relevant they are in the modern world. To be clear, he never says to leave children playing games on their own, but to join in and use games to encourage education, imagination and storytelling. This can be through conversations or playing multiplayer. It has allowed me to critique what content my daughter is consuming to ensure it feeds a story or challenges with puzzles. Also, my own approach to actively engage with her when playing or watching. It's available on audio. That sounds really good, actually. I might give it a go myself.
Yeah, and it is interesting. It's something that I've been thinking a lot about during the lockdown, really, is that I've actually been quite comfortable with my social life, really, because it's no different to what it was before the lockdown in terms of talking to friends and that. Like, I didn't regularly leave the house and go to a bar and see them. So it wasn't, that hasn't changed. I'm still not doing that. I'm still doing what I do with my mates more often than not, and just playing video games with them or talking to them over the microphone. And it's funny because I've seen, like my brother, his son, he's been socialising with his friends from school through playing Fortnite, So it's I think it's just way more easy to deal with that. Such a massive change in their life because they're used to contacting their friends in these ways, whereas like people who are not into gaming and are in this lockdown period look at their kids and just think, oh my god, this is going to be terrible for them, they're going to miss their friends so much. But I don't know, it just seems like more the norm than this wacky thing.
Imagine lockdown happened like 20 years ago, or like before the internet was a big thing, or when we were kids.
Yeah, fuck that.
I would definitely be plugging in 4 N64 pads and slowly moving each character in GoldenEye, and one by one.
We talked to our friends on the phone, I guess. For using BT's free hour of call time.
MSN Messenger for sure. ASL.
In a similar vein, on Audible, there is a podcast series, I think it's an Audible exclusive one still, called How Not to Fuck Up Your Kids Too Bad, and it's really good. And there's 2 episodes. There's one episode is specifically about phones, but then there's another one about screen time in general, and they're both really interesting. And it's just good because he talks to like a friend of his about like screen time and stuff, and he's like, yeah, but and they're all sort of our age-ish. He's like, yeah, but like, when we were growing up, like, yeah, we occasionally played computer games and we occasionally went out and played and stuff. He's like, but do you not remember how long we were just fucking bored out of our minds?
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. It's I just remember being bored most of the time I was young.
Yeah.
There was nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's not, it basically just makes the point. It's not completely terrible, but like, there is more stuff to do with screens now. It's just that actually it's just filling what used to be a void. It's not necessarily stopping you going
also,
outside.
that conversation about, oh, yeah, all right, we didn't have as much screen time as they did. But I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah, but
they were on worse quality screens.
Yeah.
And it was the same game on repeat
and it was just
for a year.
Unengaging, and telly as well was just crap. So, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, it was pretty shit.
VHS recordings of Saved by the Bell, over and over again.
Watching Keenan and Kel on that.
Oh, it wasn't all bad then.
Love all that.
That's it for feedback. It's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter, or you can email podcast@thecomputergameshow.com.
You know what that means? It's time for the news.
Okay. The Switch has passed 55 million in lifetime sales. So
that's cool, isn't it?
Huge.
It's a lot of Switches.
I mean, they've done pretty well.
Switches.
Their earnings are up 9% over last year, and some games have done really well as well. Like Pokemon Sword and Shield have sold 17 million units. Animal Crossing's done 13 million so far.
Animal Crossing
in 6 weeks,
smashed it, isn't it?
Yeah,
and this is before lockdown, so the next sales figures are going to be even bigger. I mean,
could you imagine being that far behind though? Like going on Twitter and seeing all these pictures of people's villages or whatever, and then you look at your a tent, knowing that you're months behind any of that shit. Must be horrific. Yeah. I mean that console sold very well, and I really want to buy a new one, but I can't yet. I'm not going to buy the big Switch again. And I'm certainly not going to buy the Lite. I want them to sort of go, oh, is the Lite 2 the slightly less light?
Just wait until next year.
It's a light, but you can plug it in.
Wait until next year, and they do another one, which is a more powerful one, maybe, or something like that. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to do. Well,
why
do you want
a new one so bad? Is your knackered?
Yeah, it's just depressing how it's falling apart. You know what I mean? I went to catch a fish in Animal Crossing today, and I noticed the little red flash up on the right-hand side of the screen where the Joy-Con had disconnected slightly and then reconnected, and it went... And I was like, oh my God, and then the fish bit, and I pressed the button, and of course it didn't work. I was furious, man. I lost a fish.
Oh God, yeah, nightmare.
But the thing is, it's the situation I'm in, both Joy-Cons are fucked in their own little way, right? They're both kind of usable, but they're both fucked in their own sort of way. The little latch thing that clicks it into place, that's broken. Okay. So if you
is that
push
broken
it a
on the
bit,
Switch side or Joy-Con side?
On the Joy-Con side,
okay,
right?
so a new pair of Joy-Cons, done.
Yeah, I know, but a new pair of Joy-Cons is 70 quid.
Yeah, but a new Switch is 300 quid.
Yeah.
It's like when you run out of printer ink and you're like, I could just get a new printer though.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
Ink's a rip-off. I'll just get a new printer.
No, it's not. It's not so much that. It's just more because it's also the kickstand is gone. The little flap that. I mean, we've spoken about this before.
How much did he use that kickstand? Obviously enough to break it, but I must use it 5 to 10 times in my entire life.
I never used it.
How did it break then?
That kickstand. Well, I don't know if you've heard, Matt, but I've got a 5-year-old son that uses the Switch a lot. I don't know if you're aware of this situation. It just went one day. Where is it, Harry? I don't know. Brilliant. Fucking great.
It's annoying that, and it's because I told you about the scratch that I got on the screen of mine. And it's it's a massive, huge, cut in it, basically. And then I was like, okay, who did this? And then both of them were like, well, it wasn't me. And it's like, well, obviously it was one of you. It was,
it was Shaggy.
So obviously it was one of you. I know it was Asher. I'm sure it was him that did it. And I was like, okay, look, we're not going to talk about who did it, but I think we've all got a pretty good idea of who it was. And so he knows it's him. He did
also, Matt, please don't give me shit about the kickstand, because we know that Elodie doesn't use your Switch much, and you've got no vent left. What is that about?
Well, no, I've got a vent, obviously. It's just the little plastic bit. And actually, the plastic bits covering it have gone. But actually, someone else on Twitter said, is everyone else a Switch like this? And I was like, that's the same issue mine's got. So,
well, I mean, Harry's battered my Switch, and those still very much intact, Matt. So look at your own situation.
And James, after you mentioned contact cleaning, I did get some. I sprayed something on the first night, and I got too scared I was going to fuck the Switch up, because I'm literally spraying liquid into the Switch. Yeah. So it didn't do much, and then did it another night, and it was okay, but it still doesn't feel 100%. But
yeah, but you take the Switch off take the Joy-Con off the Switch first before you do it.
I didn't do it. I just sprayed it when I was held in my hand.
Firing it around all over the place.
You switch it off first, the whole thing, detach it, and then lift up the little flap and then squirt it in.
Also, he thought he could replace those little bits of plastic on the vent by spraying the contact cleaner down the vent.
I just thought, well, if a little spray does it, I'll empty the entire can and dunk the entire machine in it.
I'll do the job.
It's all right. I mean, yeah, but I didn't turn it off, and I held it in my hand. I was like, well, I was in the middle of Animal Crossing. I was like, I might as well fix this now. Spray, done.
Squirt it in and just like wiggle it around a bit, you know.
Well, I didn't die anyway.
Also, I'm massively concerned because, as I said in the past, I've been very lucky with Harry and not breaking things. Like, he doesn't go near my phone. He hasn't put, like, coasters into Xboxes, like I've heard stories about and stuff like that. None of that shit. Charlie doesn't give a fuck, mate. Like, he is just, he'll look around the room, find something, just chuck it. Fuck it, come on. We never had that before, so it's freaking us out. And when you just look at him, he's a naughty boy. You know he's a naughty boy. You know a naughty boy has just got that look. That's what Charlie's got. He's just got this piercing stare at you. Yeah, like, I know that you're going to be pissed off with me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Isaac's just got no sense of, like, if he picks up an object with moving parts, or even without moving parts, he's got no sense of, like, what's designed to move in a certain way and what isn't. So he'll just start pulling things apart, like, and just snapping them and just being like, oh, right, never mind. There's no malice in it. There's no aggression. He's just experimenting. And he just fucks everything he touches. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, we're in for a bad one with this one. Right, okay, should we get on to the next story?
Yeah, why not? So
don't need to say that, just get on with it. Go on.
I was stalling for time because I had to bring up the thing because I closed it.
I knew something was up.
Yeah.
I knew something was up. Sure, why not?
So anyway, so last week was it Thursday? It was Thursday. Microsoft did like that thing where they showed off like what Xbox games were going to look like on Series X. And since then, they've come out and they've said that they admit that they set some wrong expectations. Now,
I'm interested to hear this, right? Because I sort of saw the reaction to it and then saw their initial response to it was like, we never said, like, here's what we said was going to be there and that's what we showed. And I thought, this must be a massive, one of those like sort of overblown reactions by a certain type of person on Twitter, and they've sort of explained that they never went down that road. But then they released an apology, did they?
Yeah, well, because what happened was that the video, the Inside Xbox video, has got like 33,000 dislikes now on YouTube. And also the comments are all just packed with complaints. And then it's the same thing for Assassin's Creed as well. Like, they're being like hammered for it. So what happened was the general manager of Xbox Game Marketing, like Aaron Greenberg, has like come out and he said, had we not said anything and just shown May Inside Xbox show like we did last month, I suspect reactions might have been different. Clearly we set some wrong expectations and that's on us. We appreciate all the feedback and I can assure you that we'll take it all in and learn as a team. And so the biggest thing that really annoyed people was apparently this Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because that was supposed to be like a gameplay reveal, but they didn't show any gameplay at all from it.
Oh, right, okay. Because I also saw Ubisoft saying, didn't they say when they showed their initial trailer, they said, watch how it plays at the Microsoft event?
Yeah, to see, yeah.
Okay, right, I understand now. Like, if that's what people were expecting, and they didn't get any gameplay footage of that game, then... Yeah.
So there was that, and then Ashraf Ismail, who's the creative director of the game, he went on Twitter and then responded saying, "You rightfully expected to see more today. We have a long marketing campaign ahead of us. You will see in-depth gameplay and get a lot more about the game. Thank you for your excitement and passion, etc." That kind of stuff.
What? That's just like, yeah. Don't worry, but that's ridiculous. What a fucking response that is.
You're rightfully expected to see more today, but you didn't.
You're right to be disappointed,
and
there'll be more.
Yeah. See, what it was I think...
fucking weird reaction.
Because they kind of said, okay, we're going to be showing gameplay, and as we saw, like, we watched it, and there was gameplay there, but I think at the beginning, they said, he said, like, we're going to be showing gameplay, during this, and it was a lot of it was trailers that were like, cinematic cutscenes and stuff like that instead, and that seemed to annoy people. But I didn't think it was that bad, like, in terms of like.
Well, I mean, we'll go into the thing in a minute, and discuss what we thought of it, but I must admit, I don't know where this high expectation come from,
because we've seen nothing. That's why, and
it was more the fact that I initially said look, am I missing this for you to tell me what happens? And you guys all went, oh, no, this is an inside Xbox. It's not going to be anything big.
Yeah.
Watch this one and we won't do a special podcast on this. And I was like, oh, right, okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be something a little bit better. But you guys certainly knew that it wasn't a big deal, this thing. So when they showed off a bunch of third-party games, I was kind of like, there's quite a few games look pretty good here. I'm quite happy with that.
We knew it was going to be third party because I said, this is for our partners. We weren't obviously expecting Halo or anything else. We knew it's just that. But it's just the fact, they said gameplay and first Xbox, Series X gameplay. So obviously people expect to see things like the HUD, I guess, and UI and
I think people were expecting to see gameplay first of all, but I think they were like, because they said this is first look at Series X games, and I think people were expecting to see maybe something a bit different. I think partly. For me, I always feel like partly you've got to blame Microsoft for this a bit because they did break. I mean, they always break out all the superlatives as soon as they start talking, and then that doesn't help because that builds up in people's minds that it's going to be something amazing. From the fact that they keep on saying we've got some amazing things to show you, we're so excited and all that kind of stuff, and basically it's just a bunch of third-party trailers, and we knew that's what it was going to be, but they've still set that expectation for people, and then people.
I mean, there was gameplay in there. Is this a situation where people are assuming that gameplay means someone will be playing it in front of them?
Like a 5-10 minute sort of uninterrupted bit of
I don't think it's
someone
that.
playing the game. Yeah.
I think it's more. They're expecting not that you're going to watch someone doing it, but it is going to be in-game stuff rather than just cutscenes.
There was some in-game stuff.
Well, no, I think actually they expect gameplay rather than in-game footage. In-game footage is probably footage captured from within the engine or whatever.
Yeah,
whereas
still
I think
heavily cut together and
to see what's with the camera behind the player, but take the camera behind the character, and I think that's what they think when they think gameplay, not.
But that's what I'm saying. So in that first, you're saying more long form stuff, right? So that first game, they definitely showed in-game a gameplay. They showed someone playing that game, but it was very brief and it was done in snapshots and stuff. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Expectation versus, expectation about marketing is weird, isn't it? And then getting angry when the marketing isn't the sort of
marketing is designed to get you hyped for stuff. So then everyone uses superlatives. So that's how marketing that works. It's just that they should have had more potentially to. It's just the fact they played so much on the whole gameplay, and then for when it is actually there is some gameplay or in-game footage, and I don't know. I can see why people would be a bit annoyed, but in terms of the actual Inside Xbox, and we'll come to the games in a second, but this was the best one they've done because it's just literally 20 minutes. There's obviously everyone's at home, so there's obviously issues there. But rather than the 2 hour or whatever Inside Xbox we've had in the past with all sorts of new stuff, it's just a couple of people talking, introducing it, then loads of trailers in a row, someone else talking.
Here's one thing that I didn't get about it, right? When they said, okay, you're going to record a link to introduce the the Inside Xbox.
Yeah.
Why didn't they say, I'll record locally then? No. Yeah. Skype in and we'll just record the Skype audio and the video.
Or why didn't they say,
isn't that going to be really low quality in visual
why didn't
and
someone
audio?
Go and buy a camera on Amazon?
I'm going to say, or a fucking microphone.
Yeah, or some lighting. It looks like Terrible Hangout's cool. What are they doing?
It looks like how I appear in our talk
Maybe
sofas.
they were trying to show that they're just like us or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. It's trying to be relatable, isn't it?
Or Microsoft Teams, obviously, not Zoom, but whatever. That was weird. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's sort of trying to sort of generate that sort of false. But maybe it's just secretly turns out that even people at Microsoft are kind of not always great at IT stuff.
No fucking way. No way.
I don't know, the amount of celebrities who it's turned out none of them know where to put a microphone or how to just present to a camera on their own. It wouldn't surprise me if it just turns out there's just gaps in people's knowledge that normally are papered over by the dozens of people around them.
That would be insane if they were to look at that and think, well, we just don't know. Obviously, they have anyone. They could have taken advice and guidance.
I think it was also to promote their Teams app. So that's probably what.
I think Inside Xbox being a 20-minute show. It's the best one yet. Just for
that.
It was good.
There was even that little Teams advert at the end, wasn't there, where he was like, "Oh look, I can change my background. I've got this one."
That looks shit as well.
We've been doing that on Zoom. Right, okay. So let's go through the games they announced or the games they showed off. I've written notes on all of them. How many do you reckon there was? Games they showed?
10?
10, 15?
No, more than that.
Okay.
No, less than 15. 13. Right. 13 games I've got written down here. One, looks like Killzone. Also looks incredible. Bright Memory Infinite. I think this was probably the best looking game that they showed off. Certainly visually, it was the best looking game simply because it showed off stuff that current consoles would really, really struggle with, right?
I mean, you say that.
I don't know if anyone...
You say that. It's out on PC.
It is out on PC, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But I don't think... I think the Xbox One and the PS4 Pro would struggle to run the game looking like that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because, I mean, the stuff that was going on with the lighting looked absolutely insane.
Yeah, all the rainfall and the wind and stuff. It was
yeah. So I liked the look of that. But it also did remind me of Killzone a lot. I just thought, well, that game looked good as well. So it's out on PC now.
Well,
is it?
Yeah. So what is currently out on PC is Bright Memory. And yeah, Bright Memory Infinite is, I don't know, like an improved or expanded version of that. It's like £7 on Steam. Bright Memory, and if you buy it, if you buy it, you get a free upgrade to Bright Memory Infinite when that comes out, which is cool.
Does it look that good?
Do you know I've not played version?
It? I'd be interested to see if one of the improvements they've made is the visuals, because I mean, it looks stunning. It really did look good.
Did any of you, before we go on, did any of you see the Digital Foundry sort of breakdown of all this stuff? Because it was quite interesting, because they talked about, because all this stuff probably wasn't actually running on Series X like hardware anyway.
Well, that's the thing. Not every one of them had that thing at the bottom saying representative of Series X gameplay.
They were saying, like, given what the hardware specs are for the Series X, that it probably won't be able to do a lot of this stuff in this amount of detail, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, we would expect there to be downgrades between now and launch. There's, I mean, especially for launch games, you'd expect that. Yeah. All you could do is hope that the downgrades they do make aren't Ubisoft levels and actually are just slightly worse off than they are.
Because there has been, and I'm partly guilty of this because I made this. Well, I wasn't moaning about it. I was just sort of smugly pointing it out. But there has been a lot of moaning that none of these games looked particularly mind blowing visually.
Yeah, but everyone's watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and probably not at 4K. Probably most are probably watching 1080 or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, plus, there's lack of HDR, lack of a lot. I mean, we're watching these in unoptimal situations to say the very least, and that is the trouble with any of these sorts of things. Like, we're never really going to be able to see what PS5 and Xbox Series X stuff look like. I mean, because of how we're watching it, like compressed YouTube videos, even 4K 60 like YouTube videos will be compressed to a certain element. I mean, I know Digital Foundry, they got like you can actually get like sort of the raw 4K videos from their like Patreon or something. I don't know. So for those of you who want to and have the technology to do it, I'm sure you can see these in the way they're designed. But most of us aren't going to see any of this stuff. So it's going to look like, this looks great, but it's going to be very hard to actually determine whether it's possible on common consoles or not, because it's like, well, it looks good.
Also, I think the fair representation is one thing you find is that a lot of people are comparing current gen consoles at the end of their life to next generation consoles.
I think that's the bigger factor, isn't it? And especially because now that Microsoft have pulled the trigger on this whole, you buy it once and you own it across multiple, consoles, effectively. Like, there's going to be there's going to be a sort of smoother sort of overlap period than we used to. But even then, even when there was like a hard cut off between consoles, you'd still like most of your launch titles for a new console are just slightly nicer looking versions of games that were already being made for the previous consoles anyway. It's just how it goes.
That was certainly the case with the 360 with the 360 to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think had it not been for HD getting into people's homes when the 360 and the PS3 launched, we'd have a similar situation there as well. I think there was a larger gap between the previous consoles to those consoles for sure than we've had since then. But let's not forget the fact that this happened last time round as well. You look at the games at the end of the Xbox One's life and the PlayStation's life compared to what they look like at the start. you'll see quite a big gap there.
Yeah,
and that's what's interesting.
But it's not even just that. The real big things that we're going to see in the future, we're not going to see yet, are going to be things from the SSD and from the fact that may change game design.
Holograms and that.
Yeah.
Holograms, sex toys, all that sort of stuff.
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah. All that stuff, when that gets introduced, we'll be like, oh my God, you could even spell them.
It's got an SSD now, so do all that,
We're looking forward to it.
And I think, obviously, the first party stuff is all yet to come. Like, this was just if you're a third party developer, unless Microsoft are giving you a fuck ton of money, it makes no sense to primarily develop something for the Series X and then downgrade it because most people who play the game are going to be disappointed. Statistically, the people who buy the new console day one are a relatively niche audience. So unless Microsoft are incentivizing you to develop specifically for that, you're just not gonna at this point, and that's fine.
That's why touch controls were not utilised on the PlayStation 4. Anyway, that was one of 13. Let's get on to number 2 now. Codemasters racing game, Pure Motorstorm Dirt 5 looks okay. I mean, visually it didn't look great, did it?
I thought it looked really nice.
Did you look at the crowds? I was focusing on the crowds.
Okay, I was just looking at the sort of nighttime lighting and stuff looked really sort of intense and sort of hyper-real. I didn't even pick up on that.
I didn't pick up on that. I picked up on the amount of crowd that just weren't moving. They looked like Lego characters. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, people like Dirt. That looked like a good one, certainly. So,
it looked a bit
fair enough.
sillier because Dirt's typically been like a relatively serious rally game, hasn't it? For a while, it's basically what happened to the Colin McRae.
More silly. Yeah, this looked very Forza Horizon, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
I mean, that's no bad thing.
No, absolutely.
See, it reminded me more of Motorstorm than Forza Horizon. Just the various different types of vehicles racing against each other and the jumps and all that stuff. Because Forza Horizon's an excellent game, but it doesn't really get the jumping right, does it? The jumping always feels a bit out of control in those games.
I've just realised
wouldn't be able to handle with quad bikes and stuff.
Before people start emailing in, I've just realised I'm getting confused between Dirt and Dirt Rally. Dirt Rally's the serious one, isn't it? So
I think so.
Yeah, so I think Dirt has always been a bit daft, but
unacceptable.
Right, okay. Number 3 was, I've just got 2 words written down in front of me: Scorn, disgusting. So this was that horror game that just looked fucking foul.
Yeah.
Just not interested in that. Yeah. It's just looked like just things bubbling and dripping.
I know people who are 100% up for that. Because if you're into your weird sort of HR Geiger shit, that's absolutely what some people want. But I felt physically ill watching that.
Yeah, such rank. Space shooter game. What now? How do you? Is it Chorves or Chorves?
I'm pretty sure it's Chorus.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Is
as
that you that I've written down there?
Yeah, it's like churches and stuff.
But it's I was going to say it's like churches. Yeah, they've just stylized the U as like a V. Presumably, it'll make it easier to Google it. But it's quite. I do like the idea of just referring to it as Chorves from now on.
Wait,
Chorves.
hold on. So it is actually a V, but they've just changed that to a V. Because
it's just stylized as a V rather than a U.
All right, so Chorves then for the rest of the time it's mentioned on this show.
I thought this looked great.
I said to you, we spoke about it shortly afterwards, and it really does seem like the game that's either going to be fucking amazing or fucking wank. So there will be no in between for this one.
I'm a bit suspicious about this one because this is Fish Labs, right? Who are doing this?
Oh, is it? I don't know. Sorry.
And if it is, then they've done the Galaxy on Fire games, which have been okay, but not amazing games at all. Like, not I don't think by any stretch of the imagination are they really, really good games. They're fine. They're like fine, like shooty games or whatever, but they're not amazing or anything. So as soon as I saw the thing for that, I thought, this is going to be another Galaxy on Fire game, but it's not. It's something else. But
interesting.
What I don't want from this is it to be like a more of a retro style space shooter where you're just moving like the ship around all over the place.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Because it looked like a bit of both, didn't it? It looked like there were open bits, but then also sort of tunnel sections where it's a bit sort of Star Foxy.
Which is fine, but like I want a space shooting game that feels like what was that fucking Xbox game? The like you were in the World War II aeroplanes.
Oh, shit! Crimson Skies.
Crimson Skies. Yeah. I want it to feel like that, where you're like where you feel like you're flying rather than just you're going left and right and up and down. Like I want a game like that. If that is that, then I'm going to be very interested in it. And it looks like it's got potential. Sort of like, keep your eye out for Deathloop.
Kind of like Control vibes as well, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah, sort of sinister,
particularly with the colours and stuff. Yeah,
sort of delirious, weird dialogue and stuff going on. It was sort of like it was a spaceship, but there was sort of implied there's some sort of weird, sort of religious or spiritual element to it. It was really strange. Yeah. Just to further confuse matters, so I've just googled it, spelt with a V, which does bring up the official Xbox.com page for it, where in the URL it's spelt with a U. And that's how they've written it, aside from, like, the actual logo is with a V, but then where they've written it elsewhere, it's with a U. So
it's definitely, it's just like Churches. It's the same way of, stylised it. Looks good.
Fuck's sake.
I should get Churches to do the soundtrack.
Yeah.
That'd be good. I'd like that.
Okay, number 5 was Madden 21. Who gives a fuck? Sorry, American listeners.
Can't believe
you're the only one
that
cares about that sport. Number 6, Bloodlines 2. Now this I don't know if I'm sure I've heard you talk about Bloodlines, Sean, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Did you play it?
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, going back quite a while now. So I can't even remember if it came to consoles. I think it might have been PC only. So obviously, as a moody teenager, I'd played quite a bit of the vampire role-playing game, the tabletop one. And then there'd been a couple of attempts, I think, to make a computer game out of it, and they'd sort of not gone brilliantly, but then Bloodlines was like, oh shit, this is the one. I mean, it's probably aged terribly. There were, technically it had tons of issues when it came out. At one point when I was playing it, I had a bug that stopped me progressing entirely, and I had to, do you remember in id games and stuff, you'd bring up the console where you could type in commands and stuff?
Yeah.
So I had to do that to load the next level at one point. I think I can't remember if the devs patched it or there's like a massive fan patch for it now. But yeah, point is, despite all that, it had some brilliant writing and some really interesting scenarios and stuff.
Well, this is really, isn't it? I mean, I've never really given a... Sorry, what was that, Matt?
Well, what type of game is it?
It's like a third-person sort of action RPG.
And now it's first person or third? Because in the trailer it has both first and third.
Yeah, either or, I think.
Okay,
yeah. Cool. So, I mean, this was one of those trailers where you go, oh, they've got a style and a tone, and this is really interesting. Because what it does, if you've not seen it, it shows the vampire. If it is just one single vampire, or you create your own, I don't know. But it was certainly not glorifying, but ultra violent and horrific, but with a no give a shit attitude, and sort of about dancing around dead bodies and all this sort of stuff, that and the music was sort of upbeat and all that sort of stuff, and you were instantly like, that's interesting. If they nail that'd be great. And you know what it reminded me of? The first time we saw We Happy Few, that trailer, that's what captured everyone straight away. You were like, this is an interesting story with something we don't regularly see in video games, and it seems to have this style that seems really appealing, if a little bit horrific at the same time. But we all know what happened with We Happy Few. So, I mean, now that you've said actually there was something to that original game, hopefully they've managed to harness that stuff and create something interesting out of it. Because they showed a few of the powers that you'd be getting to use, and they all looked incredible. So, I mean, this could be a good one. That was one of the highlights for me, I think.
What I found weird was that the what looked like the cutscene opening it looked really bad, I think. Well, it didn't look great, but then the actual scenes where they're in the streets, the lighting looked fantastic, and when it showed more of the combat later on, that looked really good. But it's just strange that the cutscene of all the bits looked like the worst bit.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting, because I sort of, as you say, Dave, that first scene where the guy's sort of dancing around the corpses and stuff, I just went, it's another horror game, whatever, and I kind of switched off. And then when I saw that it was Bloodlines 2 at the end, I was like, oh shit. I think, really? Yeah, I've never had that experience with a trailer where I've been sort of disinterested and then found out what game it was, and suddenly I was up for it. But yeah.
It was the opposite for me. I saw the bodies hanging there and I was like, oh God, really? Are we doing more generic horror, creepy?
See, that's
and then when I saw
the
the guy coming in dancing and using them as puppets and stuff, I was like, here we go. Right, there's something different here and it works. So yeah, that's when I sort of sat up and took notice. Right, number 7 on the list was Call of the Sea. I've just put looks like Journey. Anyone know anything about this?
No, I thought it looked gorgeous. I mean, what do you mean it looks like Journey? Exactly.
Just looked like Journey. It had that sort of palette.
I know what you mean. That sort of, the shading and stuff. I thought it looked really good though.
That's dialed down. It's much more vibrant colours than just Journey. I thought it looked...
I don't know. I it reminded me a lot of Journey. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm not saying that it's a bad game because I don't know. But I just looked at it and I thought, this is a Journey style game.
But visually, for me, it reminded me more of like Sea of Thieves, particularly obviously that the first few scenes where you see like things like a luscious, like a forest and like a waterfall. I was like, wow, this looks absolutely gorgeous. Even watching like on a YouTube thing. But no, I was really interested in that. I don't know much about. So what have Raw Fury done? Are they publishing it or developing?
They're the publisher. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The developer is Out of the Blue, and as far as I'm aware, this is their first game.
Yeah, it works with their name, doesn't it? We'll see. Number 8, we've got The Ascent. Oh, I think I lost interest in this game. I'll read you what I've written. The Ascent. Is that the name of the game? Is it just The Ascent? And then I put mech/future game.
This was the sort of cyberpunk one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very cyberpunk. I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And then when I actually got to gameplay, I'm like, nah.
Well, because I thought that, because it starts off looking like it's going to be really story heavy, and then as you say, they showed a bit of combat. I was like, it's a twin stick shooter basically. Having read up on it since, no, it is like an action RPG apparently. So there's going to be.
What is the name of it though? Is it The Ascent?
The Ascent, yeah.
Right, okay, fine. Okay, so I didn't lose. It just, the way I've written it here, it just looks like I just trailed off and scribbled things down. Okay.
So is it more like a Diablo type game? Is that what you're saying?
As far as I can tell, yeah. So there's going to be characters and a story and skill trees and all that stuff. It's just that it plays like a bit of an action game rather than being turn-based or whatever. So I think I'm still really interested.
Yeah. Number 9, The Medium. Weird pregnant woman game is what I've put.
I mean, this basically looks like another Silent Hill, doesn't it? And hasn't it got the same music, the same person
it's
who did
Silent Hill composer.
Same composer.
Does anyone else think that the other thing we're going to see a big advance on in the next gen is particle effects? It's something that hasn't been mentioned for a fair few years, but we all know that if there's billions of particles and special effects while you're doing moves, it's going to look incredible. And now with the more powerful consoles, that's a lot more achievable, isn't it, to make it look good? Especially if you're also getting dynamic lighting off of those effects, it could really, really make games look good quite easily. So I just, from what we'd seen throughout this, it's one thing that I noticed, that you ain't just, like, when you're doing magic, you're not just sending a ball of fire or whatever. There seems to be things buzzing around you constantly while you're doing them. Could get annoying, but I don't know. That was one observation I had.
Did anyone else, I don't know, maybe this is just me, whenever I see like any game that involves a pregnant woman, I just instantly think like they're going to fuck this up. They're not going to treat this sensitively at all, especially when it's a horror game. I'm just like, oh no, don't do that. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I'm always open-minded to see how they deal with stuff like that, and we'll have to wait and see. But I'm not instantly thinking this is going to be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's not where my mind goes. Disco Elysium devs have talked about maybe their next game starring a pregnant woman. I think I trust them to do it, but I don't know. When it's just like, oh, a woman's pregnant, and straight away you're just like, oh, that's for me to worry about. Do you know what I mean? That's there to make me go, oh no, this is like, and then instantly she's like holding a knife and there's blood on her hands.
I must protect her. I'll give Mama seat.
But no, I mean, I don't know what the Silent Hill fans thought of that online, but that, if you're in Silent Hill, it looks like another one of them. Which looks like a good thing. Yeah. Like misty, murky, weird, mysterious town, random stuff.
Weird same sort of hell world in parallel with ours.
Yeah, I mean, those bits, they're going to look fantastic. The fact, and I think that is a show of like the power where level or environments you go in can suddenly switch from one to the other. I bet that's going to be a big sort of like tech showcase. If nothing else, and actually looks like it's probably got some substance behind it as well. So,
I was going to say let's breeze through the rest of them, but I've looked at them and we're probably not going to do that, are we? Sorry, we're done with the medium.
Yeah.
I felt like I cut someone off. Number 10 was Flowers with Legs, Namco Bandai. Scarlet Nexus. So, I mean, it looks alright if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not into that sort of thing. James?
It looked like Astral Chain, didn't it, a bit, I thought.
But it won't be anywhere near as good, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the thing.
When
it first came up, I was half expecting it was going to be platinum. Like, I thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah, it definitely looked like that sort of stuff, didn't it?
It's not.
Well, just Bandai Namco seemed to... Was it Namco Bandai? I forget which way it goes around.
Namco Bandai.
Just seem to keep putting out these games that are based on anime I've never heard of, and they're just like a rough approximation of another game I enjoyed once, but not as good. Like that.
Also, they promised us a 360 for a prize on Joypod and never delivered. So, run your mouth, Sean. I'm quite happy to let that go. Number 11 was Turok? ? Second Extinction. This has the potential to be fantastic. I'm all for this. It looks like a 4-player co-op.
It's not.
Shooter.
It's fucking 3-player again. I looked it up.
Yeah, I love that. There must be some data out there.
No one's got 3 friends anymore, James. That's a last-gen feature.
Sorry, I'm only allowed to have 2 other friends. I'm not allowed to have 3.
Well, no, you're also not allowed to have 4 other friends either, James. I never understand your mind with this stuff.
What do you mean? Okay, you never understand the fact that I want to play with 3 other people rather than just 2.
No, that's fine, but you can't get angry at the game for that.
Yeah, I can.
You can't, because everyone's got different amounts of friends they want to play with, and no matter how many
you've got that amount of friends, show off.
I've got a feeling there must have been some sort of study that showed
Destiny,
that three player co-op games are used more than 4-player co-op games because all of a sudden the industry sort of focused on 3-player.
Yeah, before Destiny, it was always at least 4-player, and then Destiny happened, and it was 3, and then suddenly everyone started doing 3. It's annoying.
That would indicate that maybe...
it can be 3, but one player's got to be the robot, so they just won't fucking bother.
No, because that's the thing. The older Gears of War games were all 4-player as well. You could play 4.
That's what I'm saying. There was probably a study and people have found out that actually 3-player co-op games are more popular than 4-player co-op games.
More people have got 2 other friends than 3 other friends.
I just want the option.
Meet my specific needs. Just design it for 4 players as well as 3 devs. Get on that.
Yeah, and 5 players because I got more friends.
Yeah, good point. Right, so now design it for 3, 4, and 5 players.
No, 6, because I know someone who's got 5 friends. Anyway, this game looks good. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for some 3-player co-op shooting dinosaurs.
Yeah. It's going to be banging. It's going to be banging.
Me, you, and Dave, Matt, would be good.
Yeah. We're all sorted, right?
Yeah.
We're all sorted.
Because this is. So this is so it's not Avalanche, is it? Avalanche is like splintered into a couple of different studios now. They're all still part of the same company, but they focused on different things.
What did Avalanche do?
So Avalanche do Just Cause, and they do that secretly incredibly successful hunting simulator. Then they made this game Generation Zero, which I've got but never played, which apparently builds on the tech that they made for the hunting game, but it's it's really this sort of really difficult game. Like, it's like a survival game, but all the enemies are like big robots and stuff, but you're like in the 80s and you're just a kid with a rifle. It's meant to be well good. So yeah, I'm assuming this builds on that tech, because that had a very sort of heavy co-op thing, whereas this appears to be just like gunning down shitloads of dinosaurs, which is cool. I'm up for that.
I'm up for that,
mate. I'm up for that. Fuck those dinosaurs, they were pricks. Number 12 was Yakuza Like a Dragon, James.
Yeah, well, it's all right now.
What's the history here? You were saying, is this already
It's already out in Japan. So it's already out for PlayStation 4. And almost certainly this will come to PS5 as well. This wasn't like a big reveal, really. It's just like, it will look better, obviously, on Series X or PlayStation 5, but that's about it. It's not really...
This is still like the first UK confirmation that the game's coming out, right?
No, it's definitely going to come out for PlayStation or whatever as well. It's already been confirmed.
Yeah, it has been confirmed. Okay, cool. But anyway, I mean, it's cool. It's out day one. Like this, isn't this their first sort of Xbox Day 1 launch or something. I'm sure
it might be that.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it might be the first. Although I don't know because it depends on what the date is for the PS4 version to come out.
I think I've read that this is like day and day with PS4. So the fact that it comes out on the same day, which is better for Xbox at least.
What's different about this and Yakuza games?
Well, it's
is it a different gameplay style?
This one's a
JRPG,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Although the way the trailer was cut, you wouldn't know it.
No,
which I thought was a bit sneaky.
Like
if you didn't, if you thought, oh yeah, I've heard about Yakuza games, they sound really cool. You run around beating people up, and then you saw that trailer, you'd be like, cool, more of the same, I guess. But actually, it's very different, isn't it?
But I've heard it's not done amazingly well in Japan, so maybe that's why they're playing that down a bit.
Interesting.
Okay, fine. And then they ended with Assassin's Creed. I mean, I'm not interested, but I have got Odyssey downloaded. So maybe by the time this comes out, I might be interested.
I'm really annoyed because when the trailer for Valhalla first dropped, Odyssey was like £15 on Steam, and I was sort of ummed and ahed about it, and it's now back up to full whack, and I'm really annoyed I didn't know.
I'm proud to say Odyssey is amazing. It's also massive, and I think they've also confirmed about this. This is going to be like smaller.
Yeah, it's fine,
which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I will play probably Odyssey this week, and get back to it. I mean, I started it in the week, but then got an invite to play FIFA. More on that later. Right, and that was it.
But I mean, Microsoft also confirmed that there's going to be like the first party stuff's going to be in July, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that. That's the big one. Yeah. That is the big one. That's where they've got to impress.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're still on news. Fucking hell, James.
Okay, so then the other thing that happened is that EA have now confirmed that its games will be like upgrade for free on next gen consoles. But the thing is what's interesting about this, I think, is that there's been this sort of idea that with Xbox games, if you buy one, it will work across the formats. That was but that's not really the case because it's only if publishers buy into that system or not. And
obviously,
EA have decided not to, and they're going to do their own. They're going to do their own thing apparently. So
fucking.
No, that's not 100% true, is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Because smart delivery means you get the best version. It will still work on every thing. It's just that if you want the ultimate sort of bells and whistles version, that's what smart delivery is.
It should still work, but you won't get like the best version, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, so you'll still get A4.
What does that mean? What's the best version?
Well,
if I buy FIFA in September, if there is a FIFA in September, who the fuck knows at this point?
If there is a September.
Exactly. Will it be playable on my Series X? That's my first question.
Yes, obviously.
Would it be the same copy, the same version of that game that if I bought it alongside the Series X for the Series X?
No. Although,
so what's the difference?
In this case, it will, because they're going to do that.
Yes, then.
Well, yeah.
What?
But no, it's okay. What this is that EA are going to be offering the same thing as Microsoft, but in a slightly different way. In that they're not using Microsoft's scheme for this. They're going to be using their own scheme. And it'll be some sort of thing where they're saying it'll be like a one-off upgrade you can do or whatever. And then it'll
be tied to your account and it'll be...
And there's a limited time as well.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Which is, I mean, this is like a real like kick in the dick for Microsoft. Like, smart delivery sounds amazing, but they're like EA being EA, doing EA things. It's like... Yeah, you've got to apply for it. There's a limited amount of months, and after that, you won't get like the Series X version.
Yeah, well, they want to. I mean, Microsoft can't dictate how how someone like EA can sell their games.
Can they though?
They can.
No,
they're the
like,
platform
this is
holder.
like,
They can do what they like.
Yeah, but then EA might just pick up the ball and
run
away with it.
EA pull out and then just go to exclusive to PlayStation, do they?
Yeah, well, that would be the danger of doing
exactly. So they can't dictate the way that they sell their games. So, it's not a surprise that this is happening. It's terribly disappointing, and it's EA, isn't it?
I was going to say, James, I really don't want to hijack the news. Can we briefly talk about this Skate news that came out?
Oh, what you mean that there was going to be a new Skate game?
Yeah, so this is funny as fuck. So Jason Dill was interviewed on a podcast, a skateboarding podcast. He is a skater, for those who don't know. And he just blurted out of nowhere that he got a call from EA. I'll just read the quote because it's fucking hilarious. He says, I got a call from the EA people about 10 months ago, and they said, hey, we want to talk about the skate game. I said, oh, fine, that's fine. And they said, basically, so we want to do a mobile version of Skate 3. And I wrote back and I said, what else? She wrote back, no, that's it. So I wrote back, look, no big deal, but no one wants your stupid mobile version of Skate 3. Make Skate fucking 4 already. Just do it. Just make the game and just participate again. You can't level it to the same numbers you get on other games. You do it for a cultural thing that pays you back later. And that's how corporations fucking can work if they play their cards right. And she wrote me back and said, basically, no, we're not going to do that. So I wrote her back and I said, well, have a lot of luck on Need for Speed 29. I won't be in your stupid mobile game. I think it's fucking dumb.
Yes, saying what we all believe.
I feel like, you know, like the old days of like EA being like the bad guys seem to be over for quite a while. And they just do my fucking head in now.
I mean, that changed a few years ago when they did stuff to Battlefront and all that sort of shit. I think firmly back, and I've been playing a lot of FIFA, so there's no way I will be describing them as the good guys anytime soon. But yeah, and I mean, it's obviously what they're doing here kind of shows them up more than I think. All right, yeah, it does hurt Microsoft. I see your point of view with that, but I do think it's more of a, oh my god, fucking hell. Like, if that's the standard and you want to avoid that standard, it doesn't make EA look good, does it really?
No.
Not that I think it will make a blind bit of difference. I think no one will give a shit, really. They'll still be buying their games.
Yeah, most consumers aren't. They won't know the difference, will they? They're just...
The only thing it will be like if you buy like a second-hand copy of it or whatever, and then you put it in, you're like, okay, well, I want to play the Series X version, and then it's like, no, you can't, this one's already been upgraded or whatever, which you wouldn't get with
please
the other
buy
stuff.
the £10 upgrade now. The thing is, it's like, so I obviously they're doing this because money. I think they did mention like when you've got to upgrade by, but whatever, say it's, February 2021 or whatever. From March, will we be seeing sort of FIFA 21 in like a Series X box, and then, an Xbox Series X box for the game, and then like a non-Series X version?
Maybe.
That's confusing for me.
I would assume so, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, it would be just selling it like they're selling them now. Like for the old system and for the new system.
Surely the whole point is Microsoft's vision is you just buy an Xbox game and you put it in your Xbox, whatever your Xbox is, and this is already shitting that up the wall, basically.
But EA going out of their way to like fuck things up. Yeah. It's just it's strange. I'd like if you're like an EA fan, you love the UFC games, FIFA, etc., and then you're like, oh, I bought this on. I guess those people will be buying it day one, so they will get the upgrade. And if you, I don't know, it just feels like a kick in the teeth for people who have bought in EA games. Like EA saying you got to buy it again now. It's like, what? That looks bad, surely, on EA's part.
Yeah, it's very bad on EA's part.
Obviously, they've done the sums and financially.
I don't think people will care enough to kick off about it. To be honest with you, I think it looks terrible on EA's part. But what can you do? I mean, that's just the way it is. None of this surprises me at all. You kind of expect it.
Well, because they did this the 360 days, didn't they? They're like, well, we'll do online games on your service, but we want our own. Like, you have to have an EA account and you have to sign in through that, and we want to be able to track what everyone's doing. And it was EA's own servers and all that. They just, it's just what they're like.
What will be interesting is if you see if other companies start doing it as well, like Activision and the other big ones.
I mean, I think we probably will definitely now. I mean, if one of the biggest publishers in the world has decided this is the best way of doing it, then I mean, I know Valhalla is in for smart delivery, so
we'll see. We'll see.
Weird.
Okay, cool. Anything else, James?
So, the last story I've got is about the PlayStation Store, which has been suspended in China now. So this is like PSN has been suspended. And, I mean, this is quite an interesting story, I think, although there's not really a huge amount of detail that's come out at the moment, because it's been suspended indefinitely, and there's lots of conflicting reports as to why this is. I mean, the Chinese PlayStation Weibo account has said that it's been taken down for security upgrades, but then there's been these other rumours that it's because they found that there was these sort of backdoor services into the system, so that then people were switching to overseas services. Now, the reason this is a big deal is because all the consoles that have been officially released in China are designed, like the software is designed so that it doesn't really work outside of, with like outside services that are outside the Great Firewall. And the reason of this is so that they can control the content that's being like released on the machines. So what's happened here is that they're concerned that obviously people are then like, doing, like fiddling with PSN or whatever, and then like downloading games or whatever from the Hong Kong store instead of using the official China store. So this has been the reason that people think this has been going on. But then, see, I did a bit of digging today, and I had a look because like Beijing Business Daily, like they had a look at this, and they said that actually this isn't the first time this has happened, because in January 2015, like just before the official launch was happening, some users apparently reported to the Ministry of Culture that the PS4 was suspected of doing this thing, like where it could allow access to other stores, and then you could run content of games from other countries, and then so it was like these whistleblowers that like nearly derailed the launch entirely, because then the Ministry of Culture got involved and was all like, there's maybe games will come out that have like like drugs, violence and crime and all that kind of thing, which is all things that are prohibited. So it was nearly like stopped at that point. And there was this really crazy rumour going around that there was some Xbox fanboy that had contacted the Ministry of Culture and told them this was happening again to then damage like PSN and to get it shut down for some really weird reason.
Sorry about that, boys.
But then there's no proof as to whether that has really happened or not.
Absolutely none, no.
But it's just really interesting. I mean, nobody knows when this is coming back now. There's no official word. It's just indefinitely closed, and which is a pain because it means people can't download games from it anymore, and they'll just be limited to disc-based things, and which is just crazy. But yeah,
one question: why is this any different to why Sony and not the others? Because it's my understanding that it's really easy to switch regions on the Xbox, and even easier on the Switch.
Yeah, but the hardware that comes out in China is different to the hardware we get here, though. So
is that the case with the Switch? Do you know?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
so that is very much locked down.
Well, the thing with the Switch is that you can play game cards from different regions. That's fine, but the actual Nintendo Online, the eShop, is only for there. You can't use the eShop for other regions. It's not possible.
Right. Okay.
And so you can't change it around. So, and again, this is just about control. It's about trying to control the way things go. But it's funny because just as I was looking at this, I was looking at some of the other just weird restrictions they've got over there, and the changes they've made. Mario Odyssey, there's weird changes they've made to the game.
Go on.
How in that you've got the costumes you can get, you can thing. So do you remember there's the pirate's costume, and the pirate's costume has got a pirate's hat which has got a skull and crossbones on it. But the Chinese one does not have that because you're not allowed to have skeletons in games, so they just removed it. So there's no skull and crossbones on Mario's hat, which is pretty interesting. But also for PAL, the PAL blocks that you get in Mario games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they've removed the word PAL, so it just says 000 instead, which is interesting because then you're not supposed to put in English words if you can avoid it. So instead they just removed it.
Onomatopoeia at best. It's not really a word.
They just didn't even bother today.
Yeah, but no, it's just it's close to being English, so no, removing that. It's So it's just. This is just another example of just craziness. It's. I was reading this other thing today as well about how there's people, all these code words that are now being used to try and get on Animal Crossing in China. It's just. It's just crazy.
You can't get on Animal Crossing in China now.
Not very easily, no, because the game's banned. You're not allowed to,
because of Blathers and his museum.
Almost
lots of skeletons there.
Yeah,
that's true.
Skeletons
Spooky skellies.
Yeah.
Yep.
So some more crazy stuff. So there you go.
Weird. All right.
Oh, okay. Also, there's a whole bunch of digital events happening. Ubisoft are having one. When is that happening, Matt? Do you remember? Because I can't remember.
The Ubisoft one is on the 12th of July. I've got to stick up for
Matt a little bit here. You've just chucked him under the bus a little bit.
Yeah, you told Matt you
spent the past 2 days saying that you're not going to mention this stuff. Before the show, Matt said, "Are you going to mention this one?" You said, "No way. Why would I mention that?" And now you've gone, "Oh yeah, there's going to be some digital events." Matt, details, please.
I know, because I felt bad about that because I thought, maybe I went a bit too far, and then
you just mugged him off.
on the actual pod.
I mean, not to pull the curtain too far back, we have just had a massive break, James, where you could have mentioned this to Matt.
I could have done, yeah, but I didn't. So that was
there is no way I'm mentioning that. You, on the other hand, I'm ready to record.
Forget it. Okay, forget it. I'm holding the line on this now. I'm not okay. Forget it. Go on, move on.
All right.
Wait, hold on. Again, not to let you behind the curtains a little bit too much, but for the first half of this show, James recorded on a machine that didn't work, but he knew that he could mute on. Was that because you were muting yourself while you were sort of chuckling to yourself, going, I'm really going to get Matt with this one? Is that it?
You got me. Absolutely that. Yeah.
Oh, dear. You can't do that to the main one. There's the main one now. You can't do that
to him. About that, yeah.
Sorry, I was being really good as well on the news. I was like, okay, I won't say too much because James doesn't like that. And then you do that to me at the end of it.
Next week will be fun. Matt, what have you been playing?
It's sadly it's just the same as before. I obviously Animal Crossing, but I played a bit more Delivers to the Moon today. I think I'm in the last bit of it now.
I watched a bit of your stream today. It looked really good.
Yeah. No, I did a little afternoon stream. I'm still enjoying it. It's. I mean, I just genuinely enjoy walking simulators, and this is definitely one of them. And so, honestly, I mean, like personally, I think walking simulators are going to be pretty bad for me to not enjoy it. And this is pretty unremarkable, but I'm happy to go along and and see what the story's about. It's not blowing me away, but these sorts of games I think are fine. Even a fine walking simulator is still pleasant enough to play.
What was the one in the village, Sean?
Oh, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. You hated it, didn't you?
Yeah,
I never played
try
that. Admittedly, no.
Try that. See how you get on with that. I mean, maybe it's just me.
I like it, man. Never finished it though.
Okay. To be fair. Yeah, but that's becoming your trait now, isn't it? How are you getting on with Yakuza this week? Right, Final Fantasy. Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it looked really good. That one bit that did make me laugh on your stream, though, Matt, and please don't hate me for bringing this up, but when you floated up to a door with a massive sign on it that said, sealed on the other side, and you said, can I get through this door? No, I can't get on this door through this door. And you floated
I'm just
away
commentating my way through the game. That's fairly common, yeah. I couldn't get through a door, apparently. No, so
from the other side.
I think I'm in the last stage right now. But, it's good. It's not blowing away, but it's fine. And then obviously Animal Crossing, but everyone's heard about that. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'd really have barely played. I got my PC up and running. That was the main thing. Built my desk. That was even probably more important.
Are you going to use it to play anything on it?
Well, actually, now I might do. Yeah, because this is the one I got in, or when I first built the PC in November, whatever. That was never a gaming PC. That was just really enough to do streaming.
I mean, you say that, Matt. It was already better than mine is. Like, you definitely could have run games.
Yeah, possibly. But anyway, clearly it wasn't capable of doing anything given what I did when I installed it.
But a bit much
now, new processor, new graphics card, all good. Yeah, I know. I'm tempted to look into some PC gaming, but
Game Pass. It's on there. You got it.
Oh shit!
You've got it.
PC,
yeah, you could play Greece. Which isn't available.
I've also got 1,000 games on the Epic Games Store. I should probably look at as well. But
I'm gonna play Greece this week.
Oh, amazing!
Buy it. It's finally got to the point where I thought I'm in the mood for a game like that now. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been nearly 2 years, but I'm at a point where I'm like, actually, I could do with sticking some headphones in and playing through a short game like that.
I was going to say definitely, headphones if you got them.
Oh god, yeah. No, I'll be smashing the headphones lid. But
cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, Matt, I'm happy you've got your PC running now. Like, that's all very exciting. You got, it's all working perfectly. I got to admit, hearing all this stuff. Next time someone emails in and goes, Dave, you should really give PC gaming a try. No, I can't. This just sounds.
I mean, it's mostly because I damaged it myself.
I know.
I know. You say that.
There,
me and a couple of mates have started trying to play more stuff together because we're all just shit at actually organising playing online games together. And it's so a few weeks back we played Worms WMD, the ones that it's on Game Pass and stuff. That was just basically trying to join games just wasn't working, or if it did, it was lagging like fuck. It turned out I think it's like me or one other person had to host it, and then it was fine, but if someone else hosted it was a fucking nightmare. And then this week we tried to play, I don't know if do you guys ever play Monaco? What's yours is mine.
I've heard of it, and I saw you obviously mention it in a week, but I never played it.
Yeah, I was tweeting about it and got a crew together. Go on,
sorry. I saw your tweet about that. You were like, "Oh, I really fancy giving Monaco a go."
Yeah,
you're like, "But playing that again." And you see, I played that not so long ago, and I thought, "This is shit."
Yeah, it's not great. I really loved it at the time, and we tried to play that together. Then that was the issue we were having with that was if people were trying to like alt tab out of the game and do anything in Steam or whatever, it was just being a nightmare. Like, wouldn't let you alt tab out of it, but then you couldn't click on anything in the game. You had to just restart your fucking computer. Shit like that throws people off, and I get it. I fully get it.
But it's like, when we sit down to play a game in the evening, there's usually a half an hour conversation of what games we've got installed, what of those games do we all fancy playing, like which ones don't we want to play. To throw in the mix, can your PC run this as well? Like, it's just going to kill it.
And it might not even be anything to do with, the raw power of your PC. It just might be, you've got this one particular graphics card, so it's just going to be a dick, sorry. It's just
we're going to get so many emails slagging me off about
probably.
This, but, that's where my brain's at.
Yeah, and to be clear, once we got Worms working, that's still a fucking classic. Like, it's so good.
I can't imagine playing it for more than 5 seconds, though, Sean. I must admit, that's not convincing me. I can play Worms.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's as good as it's always been. It's fucking excellent.
But they've teased a new one, haven't they?
The most recent one I've got is Worms WMD. I don't know if there's been one since.
I think they've teased a new one coming soon.
Okay, cool. Good.
Cool, a new Worms. James. Sorry, Sean, but come on.
Sorry. It'd be a good stream. Be a good team stream. That.
Okay, so Sean, can you still? You can name all the worms, right?
Name them? No, God no.
What you can't even call them like.
Sorry, I thought you meant like there was like a cast of well-known worms. It's like you remember all the worms. Remember the worms?
You can name them all off the top of your head, right?
Wormy,
yes, there's Brian.
Yes, you can do make up your own your own team.
Can you, or does it still like randomly generate levels, or can you generate your own from like words and stuff?
Yeah, both I think. Yeah.
Okay, so it still does all the things that Worms is good at. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
All right, any more questions about Worms?
Before we move on,
James.
Move on, James. You got any Worms? James, what you been playing?
The only thing I've played this week is more Streets of Rage 4. That's it. That's all I've played, and I'm still. I mean, I've played it through multiple times now because I'm playing it through with different characters because I'm trying to unlock everybody. I'm nearly there. I've nearly got everybody. The best thing about that is that I have found that. Honestly, like playing with different characters, it really does change the game up quite a lot and how the game plays, which is good. And I've enjoyed each of the characters apart from Cherry. I really don't like playing as her very much.
Has it got a little skate dude on it?
Yeah, it has, yeah. You got that as well. And that's what's really interesting because it has like the 16-bit versions of like all the characters from the previous games. But they play exactly as they did then as well. So it's kind of odd because you're like playing the game, like the modern game, but with like using different game mechanics, for it, and it still works, which is pretty good. But then also,
what have they done to like? Because isn't the thing that they've aged them, like all the characters?
Yeah,
it's time to
so
move on.
So what have they done to the skate dude? Is he just like some old dude with some roller skates on, or what's the deal there?
No, because with that character, they just use the 16-bit sprite. Like that's what they do for that.
Oh,
so
there's not a modernised version of all the characters.
No, there's not modern art for all the characters, which is a shame because I mean you can unlock like Max, but then it seems there is the model for that, like in the game, because you have to fight him at one point. But when you actually play as him, it still uses the 16-bit version, which is I thought was a bit of a shame. But then also because you can change the music to like the retro like style music, which then it feels like it's just randomly just like choosing tracks like from like a jukebox or whatever for each level. So sometimes it doesn't feel that the music matches like terribly well. But it's not just the 16-bit music either. It's also 8-bit versions of stuff like from like the Game Gear version or whatever of it. And they're not very good. Like those, they don't sound very good. Like to go with it, but I know. But there's also like a retro filter you can put on as well. So I've been playing like through as like Streets of Rage 3 like Axel, but with like this like grainy retro filter on it, and it looks pretty good. I'm still enjoying it. It's still great. I still think it's a really good game. I mean, I've put about 10 hours or so into it now, and I think I'm still going to keep playing because I've been playing with Rachel. She loves it.
Amazing.
We've been playing. Yeah, we've been playing this like every couple of nights. She really enjoys it, and I was surprised because I thought Asher would probably be more into it, but she's the one he keeps saying, "Oh, can we play that together?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It's good. It's very, very good.
So now that you've finished it multiple times, how quickly can you get through a campaign?
I don't know, maybe 2 hours. I think you could probably do the whole game. Probably less than that, even.
Do you save it, or do you sit there for 2 hours straight playing?
No, I save it. I don't sit there for straight 2 hours. It does. It saves after every level, so you can just then go back and start again, whenever you want. And that's it. Yeah, I mean, some levels are longer than others, some are shorter, but overall it's a very solid game and very enjoyable.
Have you tried it online yet?
No. I've played. Hang on. Well, no, I have. I've played co-op with somebody, but just a random. I just thought, see how this works.
I know it does it with randoms. I can't imagine because you can just fight each other, right? This friendly fire is not on. Friendly fire is on. I can't remember which is the right way of putting it, but you can
turn that off. You can do it so that you can't hurt each other as well, or you can do. I mean, you could do online battles, so it's just you against the other person, but that's a bit pointless because this isn't Street Fighter.
They included that. It's just not built for it, is it?
No, they had that in Streets of Rage 2 as well. It had dual mode, and it's all just what's the point of this? Yeah. They've got a limited move set, and it doesn't really. Yeah, it's not really.
Versus mode could be pretty good though. If you were controlling the enemy dudes.
They have got a bunch of those as well because they've got character models for stuff that have been changed that are from Streets of Rage 2, but they've got new character models for them that are not in the game. And I was not in the main game. And I need to investigate because I think they must be just in versus mode, which is a shame because it'd be good if they'd have included them as well in the main game. But yeah, it's very good, very good.
Okay, all right, Sean.
Right, I've got a few. I've bought the Switch version of Lonely Mountains Downhill. I am a fucking idiot for not putting this on my Game of the Year list last year.
Really?
Yeah, do you not think?
Well, I had that fundamental problem with it really turned me off of it, didn't I?
Yeah, it was weird though.
What was that?
That's a weird issue to have.
Is it? Really? I thought the whole point was score basing. It was all about time stuff for me, and the way they handled the trials, it was kind of this.
But to me, it makes it infinitely less frustrating the way they've done it. So, if I remember right, your problem was that when you pass a checkpoint, and if you fall off your bike and you go to restart from the last checkpoint, it also resets the timer to what the time was when you hit that checkpoint.
So your overall time is based on, it does not include your failures.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit.
Yeah, but it'd be fucking so annoying if you made it most of the way down the mountain and then just fucked up a bit and then lost a shitload of time.
That's the tension in it.
I don't want that at all. That's fine.
You just chuck yourself down the hill continuously, and then the one time it sticks.
But that's your best time. You can't just fluke it though. You've got to be good eventually. And as I say, you're still going to lose out to people who, because when you reset to that point, and it resets the timer, but then you're setting off from a total standstill. Whereas someone who's good enough to just do it in one run will ultimately get a better time.
Yeah, I know.
So to me, that works.
This is similar to me. On Strava, the running app, it had a function whereby if you had to stop for traffic lights, it would know when you stopped. It would just it would stop the time, and it would restart. And I did a run once, and I was like, "Wow, that time was unbelievable!" And I could never get anywhere near that because that was one time where I must have stopped, and I was like, "Okay, maybe there's loads of traffic across the road. I've got loads of energy now," and I turned off because I was like, "This is just cheating." This is cheating beating my own time.
I tell you what it is, Sean. To me, it feels like it rewards people that have more time than people that have more skill. That's the way it looks like it to me.
Okay.
That's what turned me off of it. But anyway, go on. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still really enjoyed what I played of it, but it didn't have that, oh my God, I'm going to completely try and perfect this level. Because there's no point in
I'm not trying to do that. I'm doing...
Okay. Right.
I'm doing all the beginner challenges and some of the expert ones, but I'm sort of picking and choosing my way through those.
How long is a run? Not this game does do that, but if it were to do it the way Dave would like it, whereby you would send you back to the beginning or not restart your timer, how long would a run from start to end?
I mean, they're literally 2 or 3 minutes, but it feels way longer than that.
Oh, right. Yeah,
fucking
it does feel
intense.
longer than that, yeah. Have you not played this, Matt?
No, I've just installed it to my Xbox, but
I was going to say it's on
Game
Pass.
Definitely give it a go. It's fantastic.
It's just it's what I like about it is that I can turn it on and I can do a session where I try and beat challenges, or I can do one where I just enjoy going for a bike ride down a hill. And it plays equally well to both of those for me. The challenge stuff is really enjoyable. The controls are just so fucking tight. It feels amazing.
Even on Switch, it still feels as good as it did on.
Yeah, I mean,
what did you play on before? PC.
Yeah, obviously it's not like, you know, constant 60 frames or anything, and it's not the nicest looking version, but because the runs on it are quite short, that like makes it really well suited to the Switch. Like, so I'm already like back to where I was, on the PC version now, like on the Switch, after only having it for less than a week.
But you're playing handheld?
Yeah, well, a bit of both. Tele and handheld. Runs better on when it's docked. But yeah, like because I didn't realize, I don't know that they've added this since, but like they've unlocked there's like a night mode now that you can do. So you have to do every like trail you unlock, it's like, right, you do one run where you just get to the bottom, then it's beginner challenges, then it's expert challenges, and then it's get all the way to the bottom without crashing once, and then that unlocks night mode where like obviously, yeah, you can barely see, you've just got like one, headlamp on your bike, and yeah, that just makes everything way more difficult. And then there's more challenges for night mode as well. So that stuff's all really cool. But then equally, yeah, sometimes I'm just loading it up and it's like, yeah, just do a free run down the mountain and just enjoy. Like, the sound design is incredible. Like, there's no soundtrack whatsoever. It's just the sounds of your bike, and the wind and waterfalls and birds and wildlife, and it's so nice to listen to. I think I'm going to do because last week I streamed Mini Motorways. And everyone was saying it was a lunchtime stream. It was really nice because it was just dead chilled. So I think that I'm going to do another like chilled lunchtime stream of this at some point. Yeah, I'd absolutely fucking love it. I wish I'd stuck it on my list, but here we are.
Wasn't it like a couple of like mountain bike games coming out in quick succession?
Well, yeah, because there was this and there's Descenders as well, which is Descenders like a first person. I think is it procedurally generated one? I gather it's not as good. I've not tried it though.
I think that's one I saw Reds.
Yeah.
We haven't tried that one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but Lonely Mountain Downhill.
I think that's what it is for me. Is that just the way my brain works?
Mm-hmm.
I really like the way that it looked, it felt to play, it controlled, but it didn't give me that like insane addiction that say Trials did.
Mm-hmm.
And I could only put it down to the fact that it felt like the way it was doing high scores didn't really work with what I want out of those games, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But whatever. I still think it's I'd still recommend it to anyone.
Yeah. I'm still like I love the way the shortcuts work in it. Like the whole thing is that like, yeah, if you just follow the path all the way, doesn't matter how good you are, you're never going to get a decent time. It's all about spotting the shortcuts, and some of them are like really obvious. So if there's a corner, the path will be sort of one color. And then there might just be a little cut through where it's like it's grassy, but it's slightly worn away. And that's your cue to be like, oh, hang on a minute, could I have gone that way instead? And the better the shortcut is, the more subtle that clue gets. So you might just be like bombing it down one path. And the way the camera perspective is, you might just see there'll be, like trees down one side of the path, and there'll just be a little gap in the trees. And as you cycle past it, you think, fuck, was that a shortcut? And the next time you go past, you try it, and it ends up being like a ledge that you can sort of ramp off and skip like an entire bit. And it goes from like following the path, occasionally taking a little sort of cut through on a corner or whatever, to fucking ignoring the path entirely for massive sections of one of the tracks. And it's just, it's fascinating the way it sort of slowly unfolds that way. I think it's really elegantly done. What else? Right, I've been playing Legends of Runeterra. I will keep this brief because it's a card game, and I can already feel you all not giving a shit.
I've heard a lot about this. Good night, guys.
Well, because it's the League of Legends one, which I don't give a shit about. League of Legends.
It's actually from Riot, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
And it's and it's all League of Legends characters. You all know the League of Legends characters. You've all got favourites, haven't you?
Wormy, Wormelo.
Yep.
Gorlam the Wizard.
Because this was at EGX last year, and there was a fucking massive
there was like 1,000 terminals, wasn't there?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that exists. It's now on mobile devices. I think it's been on PC for a bit. It's now on mobile devices, and as we all know, for me, that is a requirement. If you're going to make a computer card game, put it on my phone or my tablet. I'm not going to sit at my PC and play something like that. But It's really good. It's again, I'm not going to go into massive amounts of detail. It's just really well polished. It's not a dick about getting money out of you. It's really sort of, doesn't badger you to do anything. You'll get a notification saying, "Oh, you got a daily login bonus if you want it." But then those are quite generous, so they're actually well worth doing. 7
For
days.
Now.
Well, yeah, there is that.
For now. Give it a week.
Log in 7 days in a row and you get like an entire deck for free, which is, don't really see that sort of thing in like Hearthstone. I mean, I mentioned before, I really like Hearthstone as a game, but I've no investment in the World of Warcraft stuff. I find a lot of the World of Warcraft stuff like actively irritating, like the writing and the voice acting and stuff.
Didn't people pick up on you this before? Going, actually, it's not Worldcraft. It's what was it?
No, it is World of Warcraft, but I think it wasn't. Weren't they just saying that it's like the sense of humour in Hearthstone is sort of unique to Hearthstone? It's not necessarily pulled from World of Warcraft. It's fair enough.
I'm just trying to save you a bunch of tweets.
Yeah, no, they'll come anyway. It's fine.
Well, actually,
whereas this is, Legends of Runeterra. It's like, again, I don't know anything. Like, I had played a bit of World of Warcraft, but I don't know anything about League of Legends. But it is quite interesting the way it uses the lore and stuff. Mechanically, it doesn't take much from League of Legends. I thought they'd be all, MOBAs tend to be like, oh, there's like 3 different lanes and it's all about like who you're sending to which lane and who's, and that's like a whole major thing. That's not part of this. I assumed they'd find some way of working that in. But it's the way it uses the characters. Like there's different... So in your deck, you've got, all cards, you've got spells, and you've got units you can, put into play and stuff. But some of those are champions. So these are like the player characters from League of Legends. And they've all got ways that they level up. And some of them, it'll be like, he just has to attack twice and then he levels up and he gets new abilities or whatever. Or they, they have to see you cast like a certain number of spells, like pretty basic stuff. But then there's... it acknowledges that some of these characters and some of these units that you're putting into play, know each other as part of the story, if that's something you're into. And there's, little interactions with them. So, you'll put one down and there'll be, a bit of dialogue between a couple of the cards, which is quite cool. It's just a nice little touch. But then there's, there's this guy, Lucian, who the story is that basically his wife was killed by one of these other characters, and that sent him into, a sort of murderous revenge rampage, which is a shitty trope. Like, oh, his wife got killed, so he could, that's his character. But that's, in this, that's how he levels up. So his wife is another unit that you can play, and his level up requirement is, sees his fucking wife die in combat. And it's kind of cool. Again, it's a bit of a grim trope, but it's fuck, that's sort of really interesting. It's weird. And again, I'm not going to get into the mechanics and stuff. The turn system's really weird and interesting. And it's just, I am really enjoying playing it. If you've tried, Hearthstone or similar and you fancy something new, definitely check this out.
So, I think I played Hearthstone, never played his card game things. Are they all basically the same kind of rules, or is everyone its own?
They definitely, they all sort of mix it up in terms of structure and stuff. Magic the Gathering obviously is the sort of the granddad of all these, and obviously you can tell even when you're playing the computerized versions, it's still stuck to the limitations of the fact that it is also a physical card game that people have to, play on just a tabletop. Whereas Hearthstone sort of took that and did a ton of stuff that you could only do on a computer. And Legends of Runeterra is much more Hearthstone than Magic the Gathering. It's just, and it all because I haven't really got the attention span for playing these things on a tabletop anymore. So playing it on a computer that does a lot of the boring stuff for me and all, calculating battle damage and stuff. It's just way slicker. I just much prefer it.
Nice.
Do I remind you now that you were going to keep this brief, or
yeah,
you're going to have a
one.
chat with Matt afterwards? And listen, don't tweet me about this. Oh, well, I found it interesting. Well, you're not here, all right?
These guys can't just fast forward through this. Think how they feel.
Exactly.
Last one. I've been playing Cloudpunk, which is a sort of voxel-based cyberpunky, it's cyberpunky game where you're a delivery driver and you're working for this company called Cloudpunk who do semi-legal like deliveries off the books, and like most of the game you are just in this like sort of hover car thing flying around this huge city. You know what Cyberpunk City looks like. It's all neon shit everywhere. Looks amazing. Like it's a voxel sort of style, so it's quite blocky, but it's that way on purpose. It really works. It looks absolutely beautiful. And basically, you're just driving between locations, like bits of dialogue and story happening and stuff. And like it's the car.
Oh, wow, that does look good. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, and there's like on foot sections, which are fine, and they're usually quite brief. But for some reason, the camera's like really far back, so your character's like quite tiny on screen. Like to me, the value of having an on foot section in a game where you're mostly driving around this huge city in this flying car,
there's a scale.
Right? Yeah, a sense of scale. So. Like, surely I want to be like right down on the ground and be like, oh, fuck, this is actually huge. And, so that seems like a sort of missed opportunity. The story's good. Like, it's really good. There's loads of interesting concepts in it and stuff. But the voice acting is largely not great. They've obviously, not maybe had the budget they wanted. And it's partly the voice acting and it's partly the way everyone's been recorded. Like you're in this huge, noisy, like rainy city, but like everyone you talk to, they sound like they were recorded like close mic'd in a booth. You know what I mean? There's no they sound
that's
really
annoying.
Yeah, they sound really sort of pulled out of the world. Like they're very well professionally recorded, but it just doesn't quite suit.
That's exactly like the side characters in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like none of them sound like they're from like these sort of slums and stuff. They're all
yeah. But despite that, there's like I say, the story's good. There's some really interesting like sort of world building stuff. Like you just meet characters that give you like a bit of flavour as to like what's going on in the world in general. Like you meet this like one engineer guy who's like, oh yeah, this city is like been building upwards for so long that like no one really knows how the lower stuff works anymore. We just sort of hope it does, and occasionally things collapse and fall apart. There's not really anything we can do about it. And like you meet this gang of like robots who, like when you first meet them, they basically just like tell you to go fuck yourself, and they're like really sort of painfully like awkward, like, oh, we're fucking tough as fuck, and there's this sense that like maybe they're not. And when you actually talk to them, they're like, yeah, we're like, you need to back off because we're really into urban renewal. And you're like, what? And basically, yeah, their whole thing is like planting gardens and creating green spaces and stuff. But in this world, that's seen as like the most rebellious thing going because it's this horrible, cynical world where everything's dark and black and it's all run by some mad AI that no one can talk to anymore. And it's like,
so is that played straight, or is it be like these guys are idiots?
A bit of both. It's kind of, as I say, the way, maybe it's just the way they deliver it, and they initially come across as a little bit ridiculous. But it also feels like it's this comment on, like the way the world is now, and people say like, just being kind and thoughtful is like the most rebellious thing you can do at the moment. Kind of feels like a sort of caricature of that almost. And you got this like this gang that are like, yeah, we're building a fucking playground. Back off, man. Like it's weird. But I just thought it's just like an interesting.
What's the actual game though? So are you just flying from place to place having conversations, or is there combat involved? Or?
Pretty much, yeah. So there's like some bits I think some bits are like time limited. You occasionally have to manage, like you can get upgrades for your vehicle.
Managing fuel and stuff.
Yeah, you have to buy fuel. I mean that's another thing that it is a bit weird. I wish there was another term for this, but there isn't. It's a bit of ludonarrative dissonance, guys.
Oh, I love that.
Where it's like it's always getting on at you about
fuck
like
off my show.
like it's always getting on at you about the fact that it's like, oh, like, you know, we're poor as fuck, like we need to do this shitty job or else we're going to starve and get kicked out of our flat immediately. Like, oh, it's really dangerous, like drivers are just disappearing all the time, no one really knows why, blah, blah, blah. But like there's no sense of danger whatsoever. Like it works because it's quite a relaxing, pleasant game to play through. And I've got fucking loads of money. I'm just buying every upgrade going. I've bought like everything. You know, you have a flat as well that you can, you know, buy upgrades for, like bits of furniture and stuff. Bought all of those. It's fine. There's no shortage of money whatsoever. So that's sort of, yeah, I don't know, just suspend your disbelief a bit with that stuff. The soundtrack's great. It takes the sort of fairly obvious sort of Blade Runner Vangelis route, but it works really well. It's I don't know.
What are you playing on?
What, sorry?
What are you playing on?
PC. I think it's PC.
Is it PC only?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so far, which is a shame. But I don't know. There's like so many things I could sort of pick away at, but ultimately it is a really nice experience playing it. And as I say, the story is pretty good, and there's loads of sort of really interesting ideas. Like your sort of sidekick is your dog that you sold because like animals are really rare and valuable, but you had his brain like downloaded first, so he's your like kooky AI companion in your car.
Oh, right. Oh, so that's a dog's AI, but in your car.
Yeah.
Nice.
And again, voice acting doesn't quite sell it. He tried, you know, like the dog from Up, right? Where he's like, "Hi, you're my master. I love you." It's kind of that.
James has no idea what you're talking about there. But
God, this sounds shit, lads.
Spoilers for Up. But yeah, like overall, like well enjoyable. Really, really glad I'm playing it. I don't think it's massively long. I think it is just like one night, like the whole game, pretty much. But yeah, it's cool. Really like it.
Cool.
That is it.
There's lots of. There's like Cloudpunk, and then there's like 3 or 4 steampunk games out at the same time on there. They've all got very, very similar names.
Yeah, it's all over the place at the moment. And to be honest, I don't mind. Really like cyberpunk.
I mean, I
stuff.
do love steampunk and sort of like that sort of like neo-futurism stuff, which I know is something different. But I'm trying to hold off until cyberpunk. I was more like,
yeah.
I was more like cleanse myself of that and then go straight in with that. I don't want to be like overwhelmed and all. Not another one of these ones. As much as they will tempt me when I see them, I wouldn't mind playing that, but no, I'm going to hold off and.
I mean, I think that they're all quite different games, right? I think if someone else brought out a sort of cyberpunk styled first person RPG, you'd be like, mate, don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah,
like, cyberpunk's coming out. But I think but this is just like a sort of quite a chill flight sim with a cool story, so works.
Good. Right. Well, me now. It's been weird. I've been in some weird mode where I don't know what to play next. Like I'm kind of I've started like a bunch of games and played like the first 20 minutes, and I've ended up playing FIFA, but that is it. I'm done with FIFA now. I'm done. That game is a fucking dickhead of a game.
You said that how many times over the years? You're never done.
This is it. No,
you said that before as well.
It was so fucking bad. The only way I can explain it to Sean, right, is imagine a first-person shooter where you're following someone for ages and shooting them, and you can see their health go down slightly every time. You're shooting, and then they turn around and pop you once and you're dead.
Well, that does actually sound like my experience of a lot of first-person shooters, to be honest with you. But yeah, take your point.
No, not shooting at them. Sorry, I should specify that you're actually hitting them, Sean.
Yeah.
It's so infuriating that I'm just like totally done with it now. It is getting just way too much. Rocket League still isn't working for me anyway, because the internet around here is just so up and down. So I'm like really like struggling to play a game, but I did get a little bit of time with DayZ, which has launched on Xbox One this week, straight to Game Pass as well, so worth checking out. And it's funny because DayZ sort of started a spiral of games, right? You know, would there be a PUBG without DayZ? I'm not so sure,
because they're both it was PUBG also a mod of Arma 2,
yeah, and it kind of felt like a lot of the people that worked on DayZ also worked on PUBG, and it was weird. So DayZ, I'd forgotten when I'd first loaded it up. I'd forgotten this isn't just a battle royale style game with zombies in it. It's actually way more survival based.
Well, it wasn't it was never a battle royale game. It's just that they added.
Well, no, that's it.
Yeah,
the way
it was just basically survive.
Yeah. The way those sort of game that sort of timeline went, you forget how different this game was to PUBG. You know, it all sorts of get. I mean, we're talking years ago. These games first started coming out. God, that must have been 8 years ago.
Yeah,
because I wasn't living in this place.
It was so long ago. I mean, I remember hearing about this and like maybe watching streams, and it like looked so new and exciting. Mostly because at the time it was like, "Hound." Some people like basically modded zombies into armor. It's crazy. And then I think it blew up. I presume on Twitch at the time, and I was really desperately wanting to play it, but it was like terrible on Mac, and I like tried to hack because I worked on Mac, and then I thought, okay, I'll boot camp Mac to play it, and that didn't work either. But I was this game just looked amazing. I was obsessed with like trying to play it at the time, but never got around to it.
Well, I mean, 5 minutes into my first game, the description you had of it, like how fresh and exciting it looked, it felt like that instantly. Like instantly, I was like, "Oh my god, this feels so different to everything else I've ever played." I've never felt so isolated and so scared of the world around me. And it didn't help that I'd spawned in the middle of a forest at the dead of night. And hearing zombies around me, it was like, oh my god, I need to run, I need to go somewhere, I need to try and gather materials and work out what I'm doing because I didn't know how to play it. There's a bit that's like, do you want a tutorial? And you look at it and it is like really basic stuff. These are your meters. If your water meter is low, you need to drink. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cheers. That doesn't really, where do I get drink from and all that sort of stuff. But it was... I'm not too worried about that at this stage. I just wanted to experience a little bit of what it was like, because, as you say, I was well into the idea of it when it first came onto the scene. But to, actually get to play it is a different ballgame altogether. But firstly, it's incredible how PC it feels when you first load it up. Like, you load it up and it's like, what server do you want to go into? Like,
I don't know.
Okay, you click a server and it goes, right, you're in queue, you're queue, number 10 in the queue. Like, oh my god! Wow. So I'm sitting about. I can't imagine people paying for this game and then loading it up and it's saying, "Woo, no, wait! You can wait before you get to play this one." But actually, once you're in a game, it feels quite smooth. Like, it didn't feel as. I mean, we all remember what PUBG was like when it first hit consoles. It was a fucking wreck. It doesn't feel anything like that. It feels really smooth to play, and it doesn't look incredible.
I was going to say, does it look the same as PUBG?
It does the job. It does the job. Okay. Mm-hmm. So my experience was, I spawned in a forest. I headed for the nearest buildings. All the doors were open. So I don't know how closely that relates to PUBG, but obviously you see open doors in PUBG. You're like, someone's been here. It's empty. Someone's ransacked the place. There's not going to be any loot in here at all. So that was pretty useless, and the place was completely empty. And then I started wandering about outside, and the moment I saw like a silhouette of a figure, I'm instantly thinking, is that human or is that a zombie? And then you hear the shouting, the screaming from the zombies, and you're like, fuck, run. And then I ran for ages and finally got caught up by the zombies and eaten. But it was just felt so different to everything else that I'd ever played that I thought I could really see myself getting into this. But I think what my ideas of what the game is so wildly different to what it actually is, because I was chatting to a friend about it like the next night, and I was saying, oh yeah, I gave DayZ a go and it was really interesting, sort of sparked some imagination in my head and gave me feelings that games don't really give me. So I'm interested to see where it goes. And I was surprised by how much survival stuff was in there. And he said, oh yeah. So once you build like your camp, you can respawn there every time. And I'm like, what? Is what, you build a camp and stuff? So I thought this was a game, maybe it lasts like half an hour or whatever. There's a winner at the end of it if you survive more than anyone else. But it's not like that at all. It kind
it's
of
more
feels...
of an MMO, isn't it? It's a constant thing. It's not a battle royale game. This is before that, really, but...
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that. But what I'm saying is that I thought there was like a survivor at the end of it, and maybe the whole thing restarts. Once you're dead, you're dead. But it seems like, no, you actually set up camp and you can do all sorts of stuff there. So I'm interested to see how deep I get into it and if it maintains that level of isolation, that fear, that sort of, I don't want to say it now because it's been used all week, but that high alert that you've got to have about your surroundings.
I thought it was basically when you're dead. Once you're dead, you're dead. But the game isn't like you're not in like a single game. As in, like, there's a winner. What's the point? You can keep going forever, but as soon as you die, you restart. But maybe it's not like that anymore.
And then your camp gets destroyed. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But all I know is that I played it for about 45 minutes the other night, and I was like, "Whoa, this has stuff in it that makes me feel really excited to go back to it." You know what I mean?
Cool. I might download this. I mean, I was so excited at the time because it's all the rage.
I'd love for you to stream your first go.
Yeah,
just
I might
don't look up anything. Just give it a go, because that first experience of me playing that game, not knowing anything, was like really interesting.
So, Dave, what are you actually playing this on though?
Xbox One.
It's on Xbox One. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass, mate. You should check it out.
Okay.
Absolutely check it out. The only downer is that most evenings I like to play with my mates, and it doesn't seem like there's any real way of doing that.
Yeah, I remember on the
I
PC
understand it, you
version,
just launch into a server.
Yeah, on the PC version, I remember back in, I mean, obviously it's going back a long time. I would hope it's pretty unrecognisable now, but yeah, it was very much like you'd all be like, right, what can you see? Where have you spawned? Right, I can see a red building.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'll run towards that. Oh, it's the wrong one. Like, yeah, a lot of time.
Yeah, because there's no map or anything like that that I'm aware of yet. Yeah. So, I'm fascinated to see how deep I go into it, because survival games is not a genre that I like. It just feels like you're topping up bars constantly, and I don't see where the fun is in that. But the idea of just randomly coming across some players and seeing how that pans out, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I've just read the description. Basically, if you fail, you lose everything and start over. So you can build bases and stuff, but if you die, that's it.
Yeah, but then what's stopping you after you're getting chased by like a bunch of human players or zombies? What's stopping you just like cancelling out of the game? Do you die instantly if you do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to know how it all works, but definitely something that I'm going to go back to and try at some point. And I just, I worry that the survival stuff is going to be too essential to it, and I'm going to get bored and not interested anymore. But then there's that potential that I do like that stuff in this game, and it might become a big addiction. That's the problem, isn't it? But yeah, no. So that's kind of it. I mean, I've been playing Mario Party and Mario Kart. I went back to Mario Kart this week and got reminded how brilliant that is. And obviously with Animal Crossing, but nothing else to really report. Fuck FIFA forever. Right. Let's get onto emails, shall we? Emails?
Cool. If you want to email us, send us an email to podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. Dean from Jump Cancel. I think, has he slipped a plug in there? Have I accidentally just plugged?
My God, you fell for it.
Sorry, we can
40 quid, mate.
Jump Cancel. Go and listen to Jump Cancel.
You fell for it, Sean.
This is a long-time listener, first-time contacting the show, kind of. Not sure what he means by that. I'm an avid retro gamer at heart. I normally stick to the 16-bit era for my gaming fix, especially as I have a 1-year-old running around, so I find short-burst gaming suits me best. Anyway, at the start of the year, I got extremely excited when Royal Mail announced the release of limited edition retro gaming stamps. I jumped at the chance of pre-ordering these for £15. A couple of months later, they arrived, and I excitedly showed my wife. She responded with, "What are you going to do with those? Send letters to your imaginary friends?" She was crushingly right. They went in a drawer where they've lived ever since. My question is, what gaming items have you wasted money on that just live their sad life sat at the back of a drawer?
What he means by kind of not contacting, he sold me an Apple Watch.
Ah, okay.
which I have used every day since receiving it. So thank you, Jump Cancel.
Got bits of his dead skin merging with your own on your wrist.
I mean, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
I'm all for
You're
that.
Into that?
Yeah,
okay.
Makes me more powerful, doesn't it? That's how it works.
That's how it works. Yeah.
I get a little bit of the knowledge.
Yeah.
Little bit of the knowledge. And the Jump Cancel, they talk about retro games and stuff as well, don't they? So maybe that's why I'm all about the Final Fantasy these days. Would it be useless piece of gaming stuff that you never use?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're all. Well, certainly, I'm terrible for like buying stuff digitally in sales and then sometimes never getting around to it or just taking ages. But that's not really it, is it? This is like items or tat.
I've still got that. What's it called? Labo robot to build.
Yeah, God, James must have loads of this shit.
I've got quite a lot of. I've got 2 Labo sets that I still haven't opened.
Same here. But then my excuse is that Isaac's just not old enough yet.
Oh, my excuse, I just can't be asked.
But you've got too much bother. You've got 2 bored kids, and you're stuck in the house. Get it out.
Yeah, but it's a nuisance building them, Sean, with kids. Honestly, it sounds like it'd be a great idea, but it's a pain.
Yeah.
And apparently the robot takes like 3 hours to. Well, apparently 3 or 4 hours to build. Yeah. It's like that's not going to be fun. I don't know.
You got any of these, Matt?
No, not really. I mean, I just
no. When was the last time you played PSVR?
That's nowhere near. I spent like tons of hours on that.
Okay.
I've considered packing away PSVR for a bit, just because. I mean, Matt, you'll know.
I mean, when you say packing away, I mean I've got it. It's not out. It's in the cupboard. But
yeah. Also, like because it's like when you have a streaming setup. Huh?
You haven't kept yours out, have you, you monster?
Yeah, it's still out.
Oh, God.
He keeps it on his forehead at all times.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case.
In case I need to log in.
Fucking wires dragging behind him as he's walking around the house.
No, it's just like, I mean, yeah, Matt, you'll know, like when you have a streaming setup and you're changing sources quite a lot, any cables you can get rid of is a bonus. So I think it might be time to put the PSVR away. Like, don't get me wrong, Paper Beast was an amazing send-off for it. But I mean, until we get around to streaming Star Trek Bridge Commander, or whatever it's called, Bridge Crew, sorry, I don't think it's going to get any use now, which is a shame.
We've got to do that, I really want to do that.
We should do that. Matt, have you got the game, or?
I haven't, but it's usually cheap.
It's usually on sale, yeah. Well, next time it is, we'll do that. But yeah, PSVR, great piece of kit. Just sadly aged a little bit, and I don't think there's anything major coming out for it now, is there?
See, this is one of the reasons why I was not terribly bothered about trying the Oculus stuff you've got, because I just thought if I do that, then I'm probably never going to want to touch the
VR again. Yeah, valid. Yeah. There's valid concern.
But also, you get to try something brilliant. I don't think just because that may change your opinion on one thing.
James, if that means I get on PokerStars VR quicker, then keep with that rule.
You keep can have it, Dave.
With
fine.
that rule. I mean, I'm trying to think of. There's definitely something. I've got something at the back of my mind that I was excited about receiving, and then used it once. And went, oh, this is shit, isn't it? I've been missold what this is, and chucked it away. The closest thing that I can think of is DJ Hero, because that was fucking brilliant. But I'll admit, look, I love DJ Hero genuinely, but it was right at the end of the plastic tat era, right? And I bought it, played it about a week, and thought it was excellent. And then it went back in the box, and it's never come out again. And then I bought DJ Hero 2 for 50p or whatever from game. Because you remember, because DJ Hero 2 come out, and it within a week it was 10 quid, and then within no time it was just bargain bin 50p or whatever. So I bought DJ Hero 2 and I got it out and played it for about a week again, and I was like, okay, that goes away then. And I was well excited about that game. Not a blight on the game at all, because we all know DJ Hero was excellent. It's just it was at the end of that era where the plastic stuff was just
piling up by that point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere, I don't even know where it is now. Maybe I just chucked it in the end. I can't remember. When I got Bayonetta 1, I got a special edition that came with a replica of one of her guns. And it's
that's been up your arse. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Wow.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. And it's just maybe it's still up there. Maybe that's where it went. Okay, it's gone missing. Don't know.
That's one of those situations where I thought it, and then it just come out, and I thought that might not be appropriate.
It was just one of those where as a pre-order bonus or whatever. I think it was just I don't think it was even a special edition. It was just pre-order from game and you'll get this. Right, whatever. And it turned up, and it was like proper metal. It was nicely made. It wasn't like one of those. It turns up and you're like, oh my god, this is dog shit. It was fine, but then you just after a week, you're just like, what is this for? Why do I want this? It's just got taking space on the shelf. Just something for my son to have to throw out when I die. Like rubbish.
I was going to mention this week, actually, and I totally forgot about it. Harry looked down the back of the sofa this week, and then he pulled out the Guitar Hero Live guitar.
What?
You know, they changed it, so it's got 6 buttons on it, and it's like they're in twos, groups of twos, up and down.
Okay.
And he went, Dad, what's this? And I was like, sit down, son. You watch me watch what I could do with this, and we put on Guitar Hero Live for a little bit.
Tricks,
yeah, we were like, hey, what about this one? Yeah, he's like rolling in his eyes and stuff.
ZZ Top on the.
But yeah, I played a bit of Guitar Hero Live. It's fucking great, that game.
Yeah.
It was
incredible
I played that one.
Which one was Guitar Hero Live? Is that one of the last ones, I assume?
That was the one where they filmed a whole stage and audience.
Oh shit!
And
yeah.
If you did shit, that they start booing you and stuff. I mean, it's Anxiety the game basically. But what they did was they removed the 5 buttons along the fret, and is it the fret? I'm pretending I know what I'm talking about. And they put 6 buttons, but there was it grouped in twos, but they were up and there was a top one and a bottom button.
Okay, yeah, I'm just having a look now.
So you could sort of do chords as well.
Right, I see. So it's yeah.
So what was really impressive about that is that we'd all played God knows how many hours of Guitar Hero, but it didn't matter because this was felt totally different.
Yeah.
And it took you through that process of learning how to play that game again. Mm-hmm. And once you did, you felt fucking badass because you're hitting all these buttons and doing chords and all that sort of stuff. And then they brought out that streaming service for it, which closed down about a year ago now, I think. They stopped doing the streaming stuff. But that was all included. That wasn't an additional price that you just, you went on this thing and it played new songs and everything. It was really good. But obviously, everyone in the world was done with Guitar Hero by that point. But it was good to just crack that out again and play it for a little bit, especially with my son thinking, what the fuck are you doing? Stop doing it. Getting embarrassed.
Do you reckon that stuff's ever going to make a comeback?
Absolutely not.
I mean, not necessarily like plastic instruments, but
no.
So, I don't
then
know.
What then?
What, they just, music, cool music games in general?
Hold on, that's what that is.
Yeah, but do we not have music games anymore? Plastic instruments.
No, there'll be music games. There's still music games. What are you talking about?
What? Okay, what are music games about now?
Thumper. That was a recent one that did really well.
Recent. That was a couple of years ago now.
I mean, a big group. A big multiplayer. Basically, it's something like that about all the plastic instruments.
Harmonix has got.
There'll still be rhythm action games. I think there'll always be rhythm action games. I think the big guitars that people will not forget. People won't forget chucking away their plastic guitars and having to find space for them anytime soon. So they're not going to want to buy more plastic guitars, I think.
Yeah, mine went to a charity shop.
Yep.
Probably still
Mine
there.
went down the back of the sofa.
Yeah. Still got some in the loft. Harmonix are making something at the moment, though. I remember reading recently. They're
doing a VR rhythm thing, aren't they?
That's it. VR,
not the gun one, or is there another one?
Yeah, well, I've seen the gun one was basically part FPS, part rhythm game.
Apparently, it's not very good, which is a shame because I thought it was a cool idea, and I got a lot of time for Harmonix. But
I think they're also doing an online version of, a digital version of Drop Mix, is that the one?
Oh God, yeah, that was a cool idea that went nowhere.
We played it.
Oh really? That's a shame.
It didn't do much for us.
No. Okay. All right, next question.
Maria Mendieta says, "Dear main ones, plural, like it. She gets it." Thank you for another wonderfully hilarious episode. As a fan of stealth games, Watch Dogs Legion is the most promising upcoming release. Far Cry 2 and Splinter Cell Chaos Theory's Clint Hocking will be helming the game, so drastic innovation is sure to be part of the new instalment. My question is, if you were directing the game, how would you improve Watch Dogs' hacking mechanic? I don't, what is it in Watch Dogs 2? I've played a bit of it, but I can't remember how the hacking works.
I didn't play Watch Dogs 2. What was it, James?
I don't even remember.
I don't remember. But let's look at it this way, right? Because this is how hard this is. If you want hacking in your game, right, the idea is to simulate that feeling of hacking, right? How do you do that?
Dave?
Yeah, how do you make that accessible to people but still satisfying?
Yeah,
but not,
so the idea
not just
is
an annoying puzzle. Like,
you're trying to break through a system, but the problem is the risk of hacking is that you get locked out.
Yeah.
And how can you do that in a game where you progress? Like, if it's part of the main story, you have to be able to break through at some point. Well, so that removes the...
They've done this in other games where you can get locked out. I mean, in Deus Ex they did this where it's like you can
That's
can
right.
fail.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You get locked out, and then you're just like, okay, well, I've got to find another way then. Like to get in, and there was always some other option. That's the only way you can do it and make it feel like it's actually worth it. I mean,
but then there's also the conflict with the protagonist, the player that you're controlling, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, if you're controlling someone that knows how to hack things, then how are you supposed to simulate that to the player as if it's like... I mean, you look at the hacking in, say, Fallout, right? Mm. If you're controlling a player that is really good at hacking, they're not sitting there going, okay, we're looking for the word here, and
yeah, but you could say that about anything.
Is correct, but these letters are not correct.
Yeah, but if you're playing a military shooter, you could say thing like the player your character you're playing at is a soldier. Why can't you shoot for shit? Like if he's a soldier.
Yeah, and some games get around that with like auto aim and shit like that. But you are kind of right. Yeah, there has to be some sort of. But then there's got to be some sort of link between the feeling of hacking and playing it, and that's certainly not Pipe Mania, is it? Let's face it, it's not Pipe Mania. What was it in Mass Effect? What were the hacking games in Mass Effect?
Oh, it was sort of bollocks, wasn't it? Oh, what was it? I can't remember.
Oh God, that's going to kill me. That.
Yeah.
Was it the same against throughout at least 2 and 3? I think it might have been.
Maybe.
I think the hacking minigame was the same in both of them. But yeah, so how do we represent that? That's our task. How do we do that?
Trouble is, when I think hacking, I'd think typing, and so if this is PC only, I think there's cool things you can do there, but on console with a pad, you can't even really do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why the Fallout stuff I made a joke about it, but at the end of the day, at least it does feel a little bit like you're looking at the words, trying to work out the puzzle, and then when you click a button, a load of text, load of jargon comes up or whatever, and it does look like you're hacking. So at least they get that sort of thing with it.
So right, yeah, in Mass Effect 2, there was the one where it showed you like a circuit board and it had all those points on it, and you had to basically join the lines up and go like, right, this one links to this one links to this one, da-da-da. And then it also had the one where it was showing you loads of code and you had to identify one particular segment of code amongst all these bits that were flashing up on the screen. I don't remember hating those. I bet I would now, though.
Yeah. I've got it.
Yeah?
I think I've got it. Doing a hacking minigame in a thing to make it feel genuine. Mm. Do you remember in Theme Park when you had to negotiate wages?
Yeah.
And there was the 2 hands, and you had to try and move them closer and back. Yeah. Except for the 2 hands, it's a PC and a USB drive, and the PC's moving back and forth, and the USB's getting closer, and you've got to just get it right.
And there's a 90% chance that you've got it upside down when you do actually connect it.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Like Theme Park negotiations.
Cool.
Theme Park's brilliant, wasn't
it? Says, hi gents, hope you're all well.
Great.
Last week I finally completed Disco Elysium. I can quite comfortably say it's my game of the year for 2019. Sorry, Resident Evil 2. I'll admit it took me a while between other games and I was quite stop and start to begin with. But once I made it to the other side of town and from the church onwards, I just couldn't pull myself away from it. The last 2 in-game days particularly had me so immersed. I've been thinking about it loads since I finished it, and I've also been listening to the music a lot too. So with that in mind, do you think a spoiler cast might ever be on the cards? I know it's not easy to find the time with everything else you do for the show, but even if it's only 30 minutes tacked on to the end of a regular podcast, I'd love to hear you talk about it in a little more in depth. And your choices. I realise it's been several months since Matt and Sean completed it though, since it might not be easy to remember everything. Even if it's just Matt and Sean, that would be great, because I know James and Dave weren't as keen on it. But if it doesn't happen, I just wanted to say thanks for bringing the game to my attention. I really loved it, and if anyone listening is still sleeping on it, don't. Go play it. I play a lot of games outside my comfort zone thanks to your show, and this was definitely the best of them all. Good man.
That's the best bit about that email. That's nice. Thinking that, no, seriously, thinking that someone's like a listener's going out of their way to try different things because of us.
Yeah.
That's just really nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about things like that. We'd spoken about it briefly after I'd completed it because I was the last one to finish it. I wouldn't mind talking about it. There's a few moments in that I'd like to go over with you guys and see how you got on.
I'd really love to
I mean,
see
there's
that.
one particular choice that James made that has to be exposed to the general public.
Definitely.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No. I'd
you don't know this,
Sean.
I think you don't know this.
Sorry. What?
You don't know this. You don't know what I'm talking about.
If I do, I've forgotten it.
I think you were told at the time, but you must have forgotten.
Okay. Let's keep it that way. It'd be more fun on the show.
I think you did it as well, actually.
Forgotten, and now I've just remembered. And now can we not do it?
Well, we definitely are doing it. I think for me, the reason I've sort of, I don't know, because for me, like in my head, like I could do a whole series on this game if I was allowed to. So I think there's no way I could just do 30 minutes tacked onto the end of a regular show. It'd have to be its own thing, I think. So, but yeah, I don't know where you guys are on that. I think if we just did like one sort of 2.5 hour thing on it.
Oh yeah, I'll be well up for doing that. I mean, I
2.5 hour thing on it.
You have a laugh, memory, but yeah, I'll be up for doing. Rather than just tacking on.
It's almost like we ought to create like another podcast series where we kind of like play games and sort of cane and rinse them.
Yeah, cane and rinse them, and discuss them in depth.
Bruno don't give a fuck.
So hang on, so Dave, were you saying that 2.5 hours sounds way too long, or?
Yeah.
That's insane. There's so much in this game to talk about, man.
Also, Dave, that's a terrible Leon and Cox impression.
Is it, though? Is it? I was talking about off-air Leon Cox there.
Oh, yeah. Famously scales off-air.
It's bang on.
Right. But yeah, it's just finding the time at the moment. Obviously, all our schedules and general mindsets are a bit weird at the moment. But yeah, we'll figure out a way to do it at some point. Definitely.
Sure.
That is it for the emails.
Cool.
Tweets
is at Computer Game Pod if you want to
fucking
tweet
Player One podcast, man. Every time I say tweets, I now think twiddly diddly dee. Honestly, it just ingrained into my skull now because of that podcast.
It's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter. Future Exercise has tweeted in, do you think the PS5 and Xbox Series X will have a better launch lineup than the PS4 and Xbox One, which was rather a wet fart? I suppose the new Xbox doesn't really count, as won't have anything you can't play on the current gen. I mean,
what are the big launch games for the Well, I didn't have an Xbox One at launch.
No, me neither.
PS4, it was Battlefield,
and
FIFA, Killzone, Knack. But I remember it being more excited about playing better versions of games that were coming out on the current gen anyway. That I was excited about, like playing the new FIFA.
I remember seeing like the footage of FIFA on PS4 versus FIFA on previous console. Like, holy shit, the crowds and the grass.
Yeah, I know.
So we were happy to play that alone, let alone new games. I mean, I was never like psyched for Killzone, but I was like, I'm gonna get it to see what the console can do.
Was Tights a launch game, or did that come out after?
Was it launch on the one and then the 360 version was a few months later or something weird like that?
Yeah,
if that was launch on the fucking
it was
Xbox One.
No, it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't.
I'm sure it wasn't either, because that would go down as one of the best launch games of all time, surely. I'm not even kidding. Like, that game was so good.
When did sorry, I'm just looking it up. So Titanfall was out on 11th of March 2014.
Yeah, no, it didn't launch in March, did it?
No way.
Xbox One launched before the PS4,
in terms
which
of launch
launched in November.
Oh, God, November 2013. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The launch lineup's interesting. Like, you've got to assume they will be launching, Xbox, they will be launching with Halo Infinite. You know, but what if they're at a stage where they're like, you know, hey, Infinite is not the game it needs to be. It's not as good. Would they launch a console without this big launch game?
No, I think they'd have to delay it. They can't afford to put out another mediocre Halo game, can they?
You don't reckon they'll just do another what they did with Master Chief Collection and just release it and then just patch it forever?
No, I hope not.
No. So you're saying delay the game, but obviously don't delay the console. Is that what you're saying, Dave?
If I was in that situation and the console was ready but the game wasn't, yes, I would release the console and not the game.
I was going to say, yeah. But I think they will be thinking, my God, hang on, if it's not up there, like, what do we do? Because, you know, a new Halo launch date, obviously it will be available and work on every Xbox and PC, I guess, at a time. But to say, you know, this is like a big showcase for what Series X can do is going to be huge. I just really hope it's a great Halo. Like, if it's another it's okay, but it's just not as good as it used to be. So don't do it.
We don't know anything about it hardly at all, do we?
No, we don't. Right. Looking forward to next month or whatever.
Would it be a better launch lineup? It's very hard to say.
It would. I mean, anything.
I think the more interesting question is: does it need to be? Does it need to be?
I don't think it does. I think
certainly not for
launch
Series
lineups.
X.
But also, I think these consoles are going to be very different in terms of launch lineups because I think again, we haven't heard anything really about this, but so far, at least it seems PS5 may have exclusive games to PS5 compared to PS4, whereas Xbox will just be all the games on every Xbox.
Exactly. So I'm going to be playing Rocket League on the Series X on launch day.
So that will be like PS5 will seem different because these exclusives, if that is indeed the way they go.
Didn't they say though that wasn't there one game at that thing they showed last week where it was only going to be on Series X?
There was a Series X exclusive, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that was Medium.
So there are games that are only going to be on Series X.
I think that was Medium.
So that goes against everything they've said previously, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, no, because all they've said is that if you have an Xbox game on your One X or whatever, and then you buy the new console, you've got the better version on the new console, right? They haven't necessarily said everything works on everything definitely forever. That's
no, not forever, but they've said that whatever it was would release. It would come out on all forms of Xbox, as it were, that are currently available.
Oh, maybe they were only talking about first party games though.
Maybe.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, there's not strong enough. Obviously, we haven't heard much, and we're going to hear more in the next month or so. But I mean, given what we just mentioned was a launch lineup of PS4 and stuff, it's not going to have to do a lot to beat it, is it? Especially if you get a new Halo, and the Halo's good.
I mean, launch periods are never great, are they?
Do you remember what was it with PS4 saying? It's like the launch period is like 6 months. Like, well, what do they call it? It was like it wasn't launch day. It was like
launch window, don't they?
Launch window. Yeah,
launch window. That's one. Yeah, unbelievable.
Drive Club was supposed to be a launch game, and it came out about a year and a half later, didn't it?
Fuck.
Maybe they'll redo it for PS5. It's now your PS. Oh no, wait, it's been delayed. It's not PS Plus game.
Plus they got rid of all the devs.
Weird as well. You're all getting it for free. Actually, you're all getting a bit of it for free, sort of. It's just really odd.
So bad. MD Krabuffs at MD Krabuffs on Twitter. Amongst your friends, what are you best known for? Right, James.
I have no idea.
I mean,
be better answering this. I don't know.
You've cynicism.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. That's fair, isn't it?
Is that in now?
I was pretty upbeat.
I mean, the fact that caused us all to laugh tells you everything you need to know. I mean,
typos.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dave, your typos are mental. You typos now. It's like it really is sometimes like having to work out what you said. It's like,
do you know what it is? Is that for some reason I just want to just tap away at a keyboard and hit send. I don't reread them. I just can't be asked.
That's pretty clear.
So I just write them down and send whatever, and then I look down and there's a bunch of typos in it. Who gives a fuck, really?
I mean, Dave, normally it's fine because normally I can decipher what it is, but there was one the other week where when I just replied to you and just said, "Sorry, I don't understand."
To be fair to me, that was one letter that was wrong. That's all that was wrong with that.
It changed the meaning of the entire thing.
It did change the meaning, yes, granted, but it was only one letter.
One of my favourite things is when Dave puts a message in a WhatsApp group and then doesn't come back for a bit, and us really Hound. So what does he mean that? And what does this?
Yeah,
is he asking
I'll
this?
wait for him to correct it, and then he doesn't.
Message conversation before Dave's like, "Yeah, I meant that." I was like, he meant
wow, I don't think that's ever happened, does it?
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot?
It happens, yeah.
Yeah,
I think he means that.
And that's bollocks.
Do any of you use, because I'm quite bad for typos as well, I think. But I always, once every couple of weeks, I'll start swiping instead of tapping. Do any of you bother with this?
No, I don't bother swiping.
No, I don't do the swipe thing.
Occasionally I'll do it, and I'm like, fuck, this is so much better. Why don't I do this all the time? And then I stop again for another week or so. And it's just,
yeah, it just confuses my brain.
See, I much prefer it, but then I'm just not in the habit of doing it, I guess.
Because that's built in now to iOS keyboards at least. So you don't have to download a separate keyboard, just swipe on the default one, but you haven't done that.
What are you trying to get my attention for here, James?
Can I read that one that you sent?
Yeah, go on.
So this is what you said. You said...
Oh, actually, can you? What's it about?
No, I think you can. I think it's
you
all
can,
right.
and I'll edit it if you can't.
All right, go on.
Yeah, okay. So you wrote, you think he's following that list of things to do. No, okay, that's the mess up, okay? You think he's following that list of things today to the minute.
that's pretty bad.
Well, yeah, but instead of today, it was supposed to be to do. You should You should know me by now.
Well, no,
we do.
But
it's when the typo makes it a different sentence. It's like if it's obviously just the wrong word that sticks out like a sore thumb. You're like, oh, okay, no, he must have meant something else.
Hold on, that is.
But when it kind of
today, you think I was meant to put today.
I thought you put today twice by accident.
Yeah.
But spelled one of them wrong.
Sort of fits.
Well, I did technically put today twice by accident.
What's my answer? I would call it being diplomatic. I think other people would call it being a middle of the road fence sitting cunt.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to use the C word. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. I would call it being diplomatic. Matt going too far.
I'd say going full Matt Murray.
Going full Matt Murray. That's the thing.
I mean, at home, it's being extreme. It's like they can see there's a glint in my eye. I'm going to be extreme.
You see in the WhatsApp group, Matt types right, and I just go, oh no. I've been thinking, oh god.
There's a lot of plans, a lot of things I want to do. It's like if you guys aren't on board, I'm doing it anyway. So.
Just do it then. Just don't ask me to work a fucking full-time job. So that's what we all hate about each other. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for putting us in that position.
Okay. Rukaku Police. If Phil Spencer from Microsoft and Phil Spencer from Channel 4's location swap jobs, who do you think would be better at the other person's role?
I mean, I think Microsoft Phil Spencer would absolutely smash it on location. I think he's very personable. I think he'd be very good. I mean...
Yeah, I think there's very few things he can't do.
I don't even know what location is.
And you ever seen it?
What?
No.
It's just a show about people moving house and looking at houses going, is this the right one? No, because of this.
Why
okay, what about this
watch
one?
That?
It's just...
Because it's interesting to see people's houses, isn't it?
It is.
No.
But it's one of those that's just like...
Someone that's lived 35 years and knowing that I'll probably never get a mortgage.
Well, this is
it's infuriating.
Yeah, it's because it's one of those. It's like, you must buy a house. It's like aspirational, but it's just boring as well. It's just crap.
I don't want to see reality TV of middle-class people complaining that their house isn't big enough.
Yeah.
There's worse than that. There's this one called Escape to the Country, where you got these people.
Yeah, that's really bad.
I've just sold my house in London for about £700,000, and I'm looking to buy something in the countryside, and it's infuriating.
Have you seen? Is it A Place in the? No, that's the one where they're just going buying a holiday home. There's one where they're talking about emigrating to like Australia or whatever. And there's this one episode where it was this married couple with 2 kids. And basically the wife was just like, we've said all along, this is what we want to do. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to go to Australia. Can't wait. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And the husband's just like, I've never said I want to do this. I don't really want to do it. I can't really, like, my job doesn't exist in Australia. And he's just throughout the entire thing. She's like, come on. Like, we both agreed we're going to do this. And he's like, nah. And it's fucking excruciating.
Wasn't there there was a famous episode of Grand Designs where this guy wanted to convert a lighthouse into...
I fucking love Grand Designs. You can't be mugging that off. You can't be slagging that. That's a great
Grand Designs
show.
is amazing.
Yeah.
But the one where it all just falls apart.
No, I'm just... I don't want you to start going into it. And carry on.
Go on. No, go on.
No, I don't want you to start ripping into Kevin McLeod. He's my boy.
No one did.
He's everyone's boy.
You're a little bit too defensive of this show, Matt.
I'm a little bit
confused. This is shit as well, isn't it?
No, there was that episode of Grand Designs where didn't he wanted to convert a lighthouse that was on a cliff to a house, and literally everyone was saying this is the most stupid idea ever. Not because of the fact that you're in the middle of nowhere and it's a really hard thing to convert a lighthouse into an actual house, but the fact that it is completely unsafe to build a property here on this edge of the cliff. And what was it? He just didn't get anywhere with it, did he? He spent all his money.
It's one of the few that ends with it just being like, it's never finished.
So rare.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's awful. But also, if
I remember correctly, he was kind of a dick, so it's fine.
What was the initial question?
The Phil Spencer's switcheroo.
Yeah. I mean, basically, Phil Spencer and Microsoft feels like he could go into any job and do well. So that one.
You can sell houses.
The other Phil Spencer, not a fan.
Yeah, I think he'd be out of his depth.
He'd oversell everywhere, though, wouldn't he? He'd be like going on about how it's amazing. The whole
True,
time.
he'd probably blag it.
Fucking hell, James.
That is marketing, James. You do. Do you expect him to say, Xbox is shit?
Yeah, but you can have some subtlety about it. You don't have to just be constantly going on about how amazing
he's a Microsoft spokesperson. That's what he's going to do.
He literally should not be using any subtlety at all. Like, it's the opposite of what he should be doing.
You can still sell things without having to just be like totally over the top about it. You don't have to be like Steve Ballmer trying to sell like Windows 3.1.
He's nothing like Steve Ballmer. In fact, actually, if anything, he's exactly like you're describing. He doesn't go over the top. You hear him in interviews. He is very straight talking.
Much more genuine.
I'm
much
passionate
less
about
salesy.
this. I know we have issues. I know we want to put them right.
Much more transparent. Yeah,
you are right.
What's your problem, James?
Thanks, James. Fucking hell.
Jesus,
it's the first time since I've met you.
£6 on school games. You could turn any children's book into a video game. Which one would you choose? And which genre will it fall under?
Oh man, there's some cracking children's books out there.
I'll start while you guys are thinking. My favourite kids book is Other Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. It's like it's really like sort of positive, and it's just about the world might go in one place, but you can travel on your own rhythm. You can go wherever way you go. There's good ups and downs. I love that book. Cool. I love reading that trilogy. Oh, the places you'll go, and that for me feels like a walking simulator in VR because it's quite sort of abstract. The imagery you see on there, and I reckon that'd be amazing.
Current favourite of Isaac's is Dear Zoo, which every page is just basically like I asked the zoo for a pet. And they sent me and then he opens the box, and then
tiger.
Yeah, and it's like he was too fierce, so I sent him back, and basically ends up with a dog. But you could do it basically every level, so it's just like a third person sort of, I was going to say adventure game. You're walking around the house in third person, and every level is a completely unsuitable pet gets delivered to the house, and shenanigans ensue.
And you've got to deal with it.
It'd be a bit physicsy, It'd be like Octodad or something. Everyone loved that.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie absolutely adores that book. He does the noises of the animals and then rips the fucking flaps off. So we've gone through for a few of them. Mine would be When I Grow Up, I Want to Play for Millwall, the book. That'll turn that into a game. I'd buy it. Just because it's a Millwall game, I'll get that. What are the other books that he really likes? I Want More Ketchup, Please. I think I've mentioned that before on the show. I like Monkey Puzzle. That's a good book, but I don't know how you could turn that into a game, so it probably doesn't work in this context. So let's stick with you playing as a kid, training up, getting into a local side, and then eventually ending up. Well, you don't. In the book, it stops at him saying, "I suppose I won't be playing for this team for much longer, Dad." Oh, why not? Because when I grow up, I'm going to play for Millwall. The end. And then it always says, "And guess who else is going to play for Millwall?" And then you open it up and there's a picture of you in it and it says you, but that could just be with like a camera or whatever. Could take a photo of you and then show you on the screen.
So basically, this is just FIFA the journey, but you can put your own face in it.
FIFA, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not FIFA.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Fuck that game.
Sorry.
It's FIFA
James?
pitch. I said James and the Giant Peach. I'll go for that because I love that book. I think it's brilliant and Asha really enjoys reading it.
And what genre?
So,
has it really not been a James and the Giant Peach game?
I don't think there has. I can't think of any. I mean, it'd be like an adventure game, obviously.
No, do a really violent FPS.
Yeah.
That would actually be a pretty good game because there's that whole bit where they go through the fucking storm and shit.
Yeah. You got trying to repair the peach. There's all sorts of stuff you could do.
It'd be like Far Lone Sales, wouldn't it? But a peach.
Exactly. Exactly what I do.
I've got a question. Like Sean mentioned pet games. Like, do you think we're going to see Viva Pinata back again? Yes or no?
Fucking, I'd love that, man. And I think in the current climate, it'd do really well because it's got that similar. Like, it's not like Animal Crossing, but it's just got that chill. Like, here's a fucking garden. Put plants in it. Animals come in. They're your mate. You get them to have sex and they have kids. But that bit's a bit weird. But yeah, it's just really pleasant and chill, and I think it's something people could use.
Why am I thinking in my head that wouldn't do well on Xbox, but if they put that on the Switch. I know it's
because it wouldn't do well on Xbox, but would do well on the Switch. Yeah. That's always the problems with that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's it for tweets.
Cool.
Nice.
All right, let's do socials.
Okay,
my favourite part of the show.
James, I know I shouldn't, James, but are you streaming on Friday?
Yes, I will do this Friday.
Whoa, shit.
Oh my fucking god.
Well, okay, cool. Okay, so Dreams.
Expect a text Friday morning, Matt. Expect a text.
Yeah, I'll check
Friday
again.
morning, baby.
Okay, so this Friday at 9. James, is that correct, yeah?
What time did you say?
Well, what time's good for you?
9.
Okay, cool. We'll say 9. Yeah, this Friday night at 9, James is streaming Dreams. Very excited to seeing James play some random levels in Dreams. That's Friday 9. I'm streaming this Sunday. I've got Resident Evil 3, and that's Sunday's stream. So Sunday night, I'll start at 8 o'clock. That's Resident Evil 3. So I don't think it'll be as scary as Resident Evil 2. At least I bloody hope it isn't. And that's it. And then Tuesday, Sean is streaming Disaster Report 4 Summer Memories. That's Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
Well, I mean, I might have finished it soon. I think I'm apparently it's only about 7 hours long and I've streamed it for 6. I'm at a really shit bit, though.
Yeah, I saw that on Tuesday.
Walking along the side of that building.
Yeah, fucking hell, it's bad.
You were not happy about that?
Not at all. So hopefully I can get out of that bit. But yeah, I think I might not be far.
It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, did you laugh at the bit where the baby drowned? That was good.
No,
hilarious.
I'm talking about you falling off the building constantly.
It only happened once. Only fell off once.
Okay. All
right. Well, if you have Amazon Prime,
have Twitch Prime.
You have Twitch Prime. And give us your really monthly sub. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/TCGS, and you can get a monthly podcast exclusive to Patreon. You get to watch us do Talks Over live every month and get to interact with us as well in the chat for that, as well as to support the show, or you can go full nails at the top tier to get your name read out at the beginning of the show. And it's the computergameshow.com for everything else.
I love the fact that you're so against calling it Full Nels and the Major Nelson. And I said to you, I don't care what you call it, Matt. I'm going to get everyone to call it Full Nelson. And now you are saying Full Nels at the end of the show. I have done it. I have done it, people. Full fucking Nels. We will catch you next week. Thanks for living it. I hope you've enjoyed this one. And I hope we do another good one next week. Let's find out soon. Catch you later. Love you. Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Love you, bye. Bye.